Chapter 752. Lu Chun is still single now, and he is indeed relying on his own ability. Without hesitation, Lu Chun threw away Smoke's spirit, who was known as the #1 beauty of the Holy Mountain, and grabbed the chasing sun beast. This little thing became obedient as soon as it touched his hand. It couldn't be helped. Lu Chun's chaos spiritual energy wasn't something it could shake. However, after discovering that it couldn't affect Lu Chun's spiritual energy, the little thing began to go crazy. Although it was only the size of a fist, its strength wasn't small. It carried Lu Chun and soared into the sky. Not good. The chasing sun beast went crazy. Strange. Why did it go crazy as soon as it touched my hand? Lu Chun was carried by the chasing sun beast, shuttling through the air at an irregular speed. F***, this thing is so strong. Lu Chun was also shocked. Little guy, if you continue to cause trouble, don't blame me for being impolite. Lu Chun had just finished speaking when the chasing sun beast became even crazier. It charged forward with the speed of a rapid movement skill. Lu Chun only felt wind in his ears, and he couldn't control his body. Quick, take him down. We can't let him get first place. Huang Xian glanced at his junior sister who was thrown out, and his eyes were red. His junior sister was the apple of the Holy Mountains since she was young. Someone actually dared to treat her like this. This was intolerable. Kill him at all costs. However, the chasing sun beast trajectory had a characteristic, and that was that it had no pattern. It would suddenly stop in the middle of a rapid movement and then change direction. It was impossible to predict its position in advance. It was quite difficult to hit a crazy chasing sun beast. The best way at present was to use a group attack, and a large group attack often required a certain amount of time to accumulate power. This way, it would instead increase the distance between Lu Chun and them. Lu Chun saw that the people behind him were getting further and further away from him. He suddenly realized that if the chasing sun beast could continue to go crazy, as long as he wasn't thrown out, he wouldn't even need to make a move to take first place. The chasing sun beast can't affect my spiritual energy, so it's impossible to throw me off. I'm just afraid that this little thing will stop by itself. If that happens, I still have to deal with these Holy Mountain disciples. Thinking of this, Lu Chun immediately changed his tactics. Little guy, fly quickly. Now, he was still complaining that the chasing sun beast was too slow. Come on. Another skill is coming from behind. Fly up, to the left, to the right. Dive. Lu Chun's hands didn't seem to be holding a monster, but a steering wheel instead. It had entered a frenzied state from the very first second the sun-chasing beast entered. This was the first time such a situation had occurred in the sun-chasing beast for so many years. In the end, it did not take long for the sun-chasing beast to carry Lu Chun and fly away, leaving the people behind them behind by 300 to 400 meters. At this distance, normal skills wouldn't be able to hit him. F***, what's going on? Is the sun-chasing beast his pet? Why are you so obedient? Why is this chasing sun beast so abnormal? In the past, it would only go berserk in the last few seconds. Why did it go berserk the moment it got in his hands? How are we going to catch up with him now that he's so far behind? Huang Xian's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. He didn't know what kind of monster that fellow was, but he was actually able to run so fast with the sun-chasing beast. He had shaken him off with his speed. Damn it, chase after him. There was a black mass of people behind Lu Chun, chasing after him relentlessly. Lu Chun activated his opponent's stance and used teleportation skills to chase after him. He should be able to catch up very soon. Little guy, they're catching up. Quick. However, the sun-chasing beast was already very fast. Its normal movement speed was already close to the movement speed of a rapid teleportation skill. The key was that it was carrying a big guy that was dozens of times heavier than itself. It was already as fast as it could be. The key was that this fellow was not running in a straight line, so it wasted a lot of time. Seeing that the group of people behind him was about to catch up, Lu Chun's dream of getting first place without doing anything was ultimately shattered. I can only do it myself. He grabbed the sun-chasing beast with one hand and let it carry him everywhere while he pulled out the limitless divine demon sword with the other. As soon as the limitless divine demon sword appeared, everyone's weapons began to tremble. What kind of weapon is this? Could it be that this weapon has a weapon spirit? My Xianyuan's sacred sword is actually trembling. Impossible. The Xianyuan's sacred sword can definitely enter the divine weapon list at the fourth heaven. Black and white twin, the color is so strange. When the sword is unsheathed, all weapons submit. What kind of weapon is this? I've never heard of it before. Lu Chun turned around and used the 9 dragon pillars of annihilation. A huge stone pillar fell from the sky and smashed between him and the pursuers. The 7 dragon carvings on the 9 dragon pillars instantly came to life. The 7 dragons soared into the sky like demons dancing wildly, bombarding the enemies behind them with all kinds of elemental attacks. Lu Chun was still wondering why there were only 7 dragons. There should be 9 dragons. After thinking about it, he remembered that there were 3 types of elemental restrictions, including the water and fire elements. The other 2 dragon carvings on the pillars should be using these 2 types of elements. Yin Sun frowned and tried hard to recall. He had seen too many skills. Generally speaking, other than the heavenly might skill, many people had more than one skill, especially professional skills. However, he had never seen such a skill. However, in the ancient books of the Sacred Mountain, there was mention of similar skills. It was said that there was a forging stone in the Tower of Heaven's Punishment. If an ordinary weapon was placed on the forging stone, it could be directly upgraded to a celestial weapon. In the weapon's special effect, there would be the 9 dragon pillars of annihilation. 9 dragon pillars. 9 dragon pillars. Annihilation of heaven and earth. He still remembered the description of the 9 dragon pillars of annihilation. This guy can't be the Tower of Heaven's Punishment that passed the 3rd heaven, right? It was no exaggeration to say that even if he had been at the 5th heaven for many years and was the leader of the Sacred Mountain Heavenly Lake, it was impossible for him to pass the Tower of Heaven's Punishment with his own strength. It was said that the guardian of the last level was extremely powerful, and it was impossible to pass. Could it be that he passed a few levels and left the Tower of Heaven's Punishment after strengthening his equipment? Yin Sun guessed. But even so, it was still hard to believe. Nameless, there are too many mysteries on him. What Yin Sun didn't expect was that Lu Chun was far from using his full strength. He didn't need to use his full strength in such a small competition. Looking at the field again, with the 9 dragon pillars blocking, Lu Chun had won some time. Little guy, I'll bring you flying. Lu Chun took the initiative and directly grabbed the chasing sun beast. With a few displacement movements, he completely pulled away from the pursuers behind him. Looking at the guy in front of him running away, Huang Xian fiercely chased, but he couldn't close the distance. Damn it! Nameless, don't run if you have the guts. Lu Chen's voice came from the front. Don't chase if you have the guts. Huang Xian almost vomited blood. This guy's mouth didn't lose to his at all, ding. A clear bell rang. Someone outside the field rang the golden bell. The time for this round of competition was up. The sound of the bell seemed to have knocked on everyone's hearts. After a long time, someone murmured, "First, that guy snatched the first place of the Sacred Mountain." Chapter 753. The Sun Chaser tournament that had been monopolized by the Holy Mountain for many years had actually been broken by a rogue cultivator. For a moment, the various sect masters, elders, and core members were all present. What happened? Who is he? And he took first place from the hands of the most outstanding Holy Mountain disciples in recent years, Yan Ling and Huang Xian. How can he be so strong at such a young age? Although there was an element of luck in this championship, taking first place is an inconceivable matter. I can't believe that a rogue cultivator could accomplish something that none of us could. The so-called luck was probably the second time he used the forbidden cultivation method and element, causing Yin Ling to completely lose her fighting strength. In any case, the Sun Chaser tournament's first place had been decided. Lu Chun held the Sun Chaser beast in his hands. The little fellow had finally calmed down. Lu Chan faintly smiled and stroked its little head. Little thing, thank you for helping me dodge so many skills. That's why I was able to take first place so easily. Not long after, Elder Xian walked over. Lu Chun handed the Sun Chaser beast over to him. Elder Xian couldn't help but look at the young man who had caused him to lose 20 cash withdrawal scrolls. He had actually misjudged him. His battle style was natural and smooth, and he was calm and collected in the face of sudden changes. This fellow's age was completely disproportionate to his battle experience. Moreover, his skills were ever-changing, making it impossible for others to track him down. Nameless you. Elder Xian glanced at the badge on Lu Chen's chest. 7 stars Wild Cultivator. Are you interested in joining a sect? Not at the moment. Lu Chan bluntly said. All right. That's right. Our sect master wants to talk to you. He's waiting for you at the exit. Your competition is already over. It's a pity that you have to leave the Sun Chaser tournament. Lu Chen nodded. He turned around and glanced at the Holy Mountain disciples who were still in a daze, especially Huang Xian. That fellow's face was ashen, and his entire body seemed to be frozen in place. He probably still couldn't accept this reality. As the most outstanding disciple of the younger generation in recent years, he actually couldn't keep his place in the top 5 of the Sun Chaser tournament. Someone had snatched first place from his hands. Lu Chen smiled. You guys continue. Then, he swaggered out of the arena. At the exit, Mistress and several elders of the Holy Mountain were waiting. When they saw Lu Chun come out, they hurried to greet him. Little friend John Doe, congratulations on being the champion, Yin Sun said with a big smile. Lu Chun scratched his head and said embarrassedly, Senior sect leader, I had no choice but to throw your granddaughter out. I'm sorry. Lu Chen's influence on Yin Sun was not bad. At least the Sacred Mountain did not bully the people around it. That girl didn't learn well, so how can she blame you? She has been by my side since she was young, and her path has been smooth and unimpeded. She hasn't had much training, so perhaps this setback is a good thing for her. Lu Chen nodded. Sure enough, Sect Master Yin Sun still had some magnanimity. Nameless, there's still some time before the competition starts. Why don't we go over to the side and watch the competition while drinking some tea? Okay. In the blink of an eye, Lu Chun had changed from a contestant to a spectator. He sat with Mistress and a group of elders to watch the day chasing competition. Speaking of which, the competition was quite exciting. Lu Chun crippled more than 10 disciples of the Holy Mountain in the first round, which weakened the strength of the Holy Mountain. The others had a greater chance of winning, and the competition became more intense. Nameless, I'm curious. Did you hide your cultivation level? Mistress suddenly asked. Lu Chen smiled. Senior Yin, I just came to the 5th layer of heaven, and I don't belong to any sect. It's not easy to get a reality extraction scroll. Lu Chen meant that he did not hide his cultivation level. He was a 7-star cultivator. He did not mention that he had a few thousand reality extraction scrolls on him. He had originally planned to use them to make up for one of his attributes during the Heavenly Lay Conference, but he had not used them yet. However, at least during the test and the day-chasing competition, Lu Chen's attributes were his current attributes. He did not lie about this. I see. Mistress stroked her beard and nodded. Then I'll take the liberty to ask, were you a great heavenly general in the 4th layer of heaven? At your age, I don't think I've heard of such a young, great heavenly general. I'm not a great heavenly general. When I left the 4th layer of heaven, I was still a great heavenly general. If you're not a great heavenly general, then you're a middle heavenly general? No, I'm just a commoner. I don't have an immortal army rank, Lu Chun said. That thing doesn't seem to be of much use. Lu Chun said it casually, but Mistress did not know how to react. Immortal army ranks were useless? That was the most important way to obtain resources in the 4th layer of heaven. How could this kid say that it was dispensable? If other youngsters had said this, Mistress would have cursed them out. However, Lu Chen's strength was right there, so she had to adjust her thinking. Could it be that the immortal army ranks were really useless? So it's like this. Oh, right. Nameless little friend, I've been wondering why there haven't been any newcomers from the 4th layer of heaven recently. Although the number is usually small, there would always be some people coming up. However, in this month, I've asked a few other big sections. They all said that there wasn't a single newcomer in their region. You said that you're new to the 5th layer of heaven. Do you know the reason? Lu Chun obviously knew the reason. The moon nether glow had died. In a short period of time, people from the 4th layer of heaven could not enter the Tong Tian Tower. However, Lu Chun thought about it again. He could not say this. Firstly, he did not want others to know the strength of his war soul. In the 5th layer of heaven, he was ranked after 10 million. There were as many experts as ants here. Before his body became stronger, it was better to keep a low profile. Secondly, if he confirmed this news, it would be easy for others to link him to the Azure Dragon Gate newcomers. Recently, only he could come to the 5th layer of heaven. If it wasn't him, who killed the Azure Dragon Gate newcomers? I'm not sure about this. Lu Chun answered perfunctorily. Not long after, the 2nd place was determined. This time, Huang Xian did not give the others any chance. He immediately snatched the sun-chasing beast and then used his strength to suppress the others to secure the 2nd place. The 3rd and 4th place were also disciples of the Sacred Mountain. Although their strength was not as good as Huang Xian's, their performance was still very eye-catching. Surprisingly, the 5th place was taken by an outstanding disciple from the Sacred Mountain. To be able to snatch the top 5 places from the Sacred Mountain, this handsome young man was so excited that he danced with joy. After the competition ended, he waved his fist towards the sky and roared, appearing to be in high fighting spirit. Looking at the performance of the Misty Valley disciple, and then looking at Lu Chun, who was calmly drinking tea, the two suddenly formed a sharp contrast. One had taken the 1st place in a record, seriously injuring 12 Sacred Mountain disciples, but after winning, he only played with the sun-chasing beast. Although the other had also achieved a rare result of 5th place, there were only 5 Sacred Mountain disciples on the field. Some of them were still injured, but after winning, they were extremely excited. Sigh, there really was no harm if there was no comparison. These two were really not on the same level. Chapter 754. Since the Holy Mountain disciples were not counted in the rankings, the day-chasing competition ended when the other 2 outer sect disciples won. The wild cultivator Nameless took 1st place, the Mist Valley disciple Xingue took 2nd place, and a female disciple from Donglai, Yin, took 3rd place. After the competition ended, Huang Xian and Yin Ling returned to the sect master's side dejectedly. As soon as they returned, they saw Lu Chun sitting there and their expressions changed. However, the Holy Mountain's rules were strict. Even if they wanted to fight Lu Chun, since he was the sect master's guest, they could only hold it in. Grandpa, I'm sorry. I didn't even get a ranking. Yin Ling was about to cry. Huang Xian couldn't help but say, Master, you can't blame Smoke Spirit for this. However, during the 2nd taboo skill, Elemental, you also know that Smoke Spirit's job and Elemental skill were all banned. That was the most crucial moment, which allowed some vile characters to take advantage of it. That's right. The junior brother behind Huang Xian said. His void-shattering technique was clearly off target. Junior's sister would have been able to hold on for a minute if he had a few more seconds. Yin-sun shook her head. Off target? Are you sure he missed? Don't you know that he was being merciful to you? Of course, Yin-ling knew. Nameless had shown accurate prediction during the cultivation technique test. He could predict the battle 3 minutes later. At such a close distance, how could he miss when he was using a close combat technique? It was just that she didn't want to admit that that guy would be merciful to her. At this moment, Lu Chun took the initiative to speak and said indifferently, I did miss. At that time, there was someone attacking me from behind. I also attacked in a hurry. Plus, Yin Ling's dodging was exquisite, so it's not surprising that I missed. Yin Ling raised her head in astonishment. Did he really miss? That's right. At that time, she did make a dodging action. After all, a real person wasn't a puppet. Although a puppet was controlled by a puppet master and could dodge, it wasn't as flexible as a human's body. Yin-sun was quite surprised. Did this kid really miss? He had admitted it with his own mouth. People make mistakes, just like horses stumble. Perhaps it was true. Nameless bro, you're here. Ingli squeezed through the crowd and finally found Lu Chun with great difficulty. In the end, she saw the sect master and the group of elders and was immediately shocked. Sect master, elders, and also senior brother Huang Xian, junior sister Yanling. Lu Chen stood up and pulled Yingli over. Yingli, you're here. I'm sorry I didn't look for you earlier. Sect master Yin glanced at Yin's son. Seeing that Lu Chen was very friendly towards her, she smiled and said, "Are you the nameless guide disciple?" Junior martial brother Fong, what's this child's name? Oh, she is one of my disciples. Her name is Yingli. Yingli, right? This child is not bad. Elder Fong quickly understood the meaning behind the sect leader's words. He smiled at Yingli and said, "Yingli, go back and tell your master that I want to transfer you to my side and teach you personally. Ask him if he is willing to let you go." Yingli's eyes widened as her mind buzzed. Personally taught by Elder Fong? She wasn't dreaming, right? Elder Fong had the highest rank among the elders. He was second only to the sect leader and Elder Xian. Most importantly, following Elder Fong would give her more opportunities. With more opportunities, there would be more rewards. This. Yingli was so insignificant. How could she dare to think of such a good thing? Lu Chen smiled at Yingli. Since Elder Fong is willing to teach you personally, then you should give it a try. Who knows, you might be able to participate in the Heavenly Lake Grand Meeting next time. Elder Fong naturally understood that the sect leader was trying to rope in Nameless. He quickly followed up on Lu Chen's words and said, "This child is smart and quick-witted. It's just that she hasn't been given a good opportunity. I want to teach her for a period of time. At most a year. She should be able to participate in next year's Heavenly Lake Grand Meeting." Yingli was completely dumbfounded. Happiness had come too suddenly. Obviously, all of this was because of Brother Nameless. Back then, she didn't despise Brother John Doe for his shabby clothes and plain looks. Instead, she warmly led the way for him. Now, because of Brother John Doe's words, she was brought to Elder Fong's side to be nurtured. "Everyone, the Heavenly Lake Grand Meeting is about to begin. Let's go over." Elder Xian said, "That's true. Nameless also wants to participate in the Heavenly Lake Grand Meeting. Nameless, to be honest, I'm really looking forward to seeing you create another miracle." Yin Sun stood up and smiled at Lu Chen. Lu Chen smiled. "Let's leave this matter to fate." Most of the people participating in the Heavenly Lake Grand Meeting had already arrived at the Heavenly Lake. When Lu Chen and the others arrived at the Heavenly Lake was already surrounded by people. Elder Xian had already sent a disciple to close the Heavenly Lake Grand Array. They would be able to enter the Heavenly Lake soon. There were 3 people on the holy mountainside: Yanling, Huang Xian, and the 3rd place Changsheng. No matter what the ranking was, it was their own matter. Others didn't need to interfere. On the other hand, there were Nameless, Shanggue, and Yuyan. Following a long and deep sound, the Heavenly Lake Grand Array slowly opened. When the Grand Array opened, a large amount of spiritual energy surged out from the Heavenly Lake. Lu Chen said to Yingli, "Bathing means bathing, right? Do you need to take off your clothes?" With so many people watching, wouldn't it be a bit awkward? Yingli couldn't help but laugh. "Nameless, bro, you don't need to take off your clothes. You don't really need to bathe in the Heavenly Lake. Just soak in it. In 2 hours, if there's no reaction, we'll come out. Soak in it for 2 hours? Wouldn't that be a waste?" Yingli shook her head. "Nameless, bro, don't be so talkative. I don't even have the chance to do that. All right, in the Heavenly Lake, you could try using your own treasures or skills. In short, try anything and see if you can resonate with it. Who knows, it might be useful. Oh, there's also the fusion of soul and body and battle pets. Don't just look at the beauties." Lu Chen nodded. In any case, when the time came, he would just observe how the others did it and learn from them. "All those who have been selected, please gather here." Elder Xian gathered all the people who had been selected. "Are you all ready?" The few of them nodded. Lu Chen didn't know what to prepare, so he just nodded along. "Remember, it's 2 hours. If you can trigger a reaction from the Heavenly Lake, you can continue to stay in the Heavenly Lake. Otherwise, I'll let you out in 2 hours. Okay, next, let's bathe in the Heavenly Lake." The 5 of them turned around and jumped into the Heavenly Lake. Lu Chen was half a beat slower, but he also jumped in. Lu Chun had just popped his head out of the water when he saw the other 5 people coming out of the water in a stunning manner, especially Yin Ling. The moment she came out of the water, she was like a hibiscus emerging from the water. Her beauty was unparalleled. Only he came out of the water with his hair covering his head. Lu Chun stroked his hair and shook his head. These people were too scheming. After those people came out of the water, they used every second they had to frantically use their skills. Fusion of soul and body. Dragon Roar Jiuqian. 7-star beast trap. The opportunity to bathe in the heavenly lake was rare. Even Yin Ling and the others only had one chance. Therefore, they had to try as many times as they could. These people stirred the water into a mess. Lu Chun frowned with disdain. It's such a big place. Do they have to squeeze together? As he spoke, he swam into the distance. Chapter 755. The area of the Heaven Lake was very big. Lu Chun swam to a calm water area, far away from those lunatics. He was not in a hurry to try it. Anyway, 2 hours was enough for him to use all his skills. He would consider if he should use soul body as one at the end. After all, after using soul body as one, he would be unfamiliar with the place, and he would not have a master to rely on. It would be too easy for others to kill him. Since the level 5 is the main body, I might not even need to use soul body as one. Lu Chun thought about it and decided to use his own body to activate the skills. Heaven's Eyes, Tiger descends the mountain, shatter the void, 3,000 body slash, 8 desolates, listen, heavenly flame pillar, 9 annihilating dragons, rapid movement, 9 steps of the void, 7 stars chasing the moon, all kinds of elemental attacks, rejuvenation, and even the mixed Yuan heart technique were useless. It's useless. Lu Chun shook his head. He was tired after such a long time. He lay on the water and let himself go with the flow. Soul body, as one, did not work over there. If I use it, it probably won't work either. Lu Chun sighed. It seemed that he would not be able to get the opportunity in the Heavenly Lake. It's still early. Let's rest first. Although the Heavenly Lake was full of spirit chi, it was very gentle. If he could cultivate here, Lu Chun's fighting soul would grow quickly. A good source of spirit chi is really useful. If I can find such a source of spirit chi, I can bring the army up. After resting for a while, Lu Chun began to test his equipment and battle pets. The infinite celestial demon sword did not respond. The magic treasures did not respond. Rhubarb, Furball, Xiao Min, and Little Green did not respond. Divine beasts could only be summoned when they were in soul body as one. Lu Chun thought about it and decided to give it one last try. He still had a few skills that he had not used. He also had soul body as one and divine beasts as battle pets. However, he did not want others to see these. The best way was to dive into the water. With that thought, Lu Chun dived into the water. Where's that nameless? Why is it gone? It seems to be heading towards the bottom of the Heavenly Lake. Many people have already tried it countless times. If there's a reaction on the surface of the lake, it means that there's a reaction. If there's no reaction, it's useless even if you swim to the bottom of the lake. He's a rogue cultivator. He probably doesn't know. Lu Chun really didn't know this, but his purpose was actually to test his own trump card. Since it was a trump card, it naturally couldn't be seen by others. Originally, Lu Chun had planned to dive to a depth of a few hundred meters. If he went any deeper, he probably wouldn't be able to hold his breath. But to his surprise, after diving, he suddenly realized that he didn't need to hold his breath. He could extract air from the surrounding water. Since when did I have this ability? Just as Lu Chun was feeling surprised, a dark blue pearl suddenly appeared beside him. It was faintly glowing and could even help him illuminate his surroundings. Lu Chun took a closer look and remembered that this was the unknown bead that the little golden carp had given him. It turned out that it was this bead that allowed him to move freely underwater. Since that was the case, he would dive a little deeper and try. He couldn't rule out the possibility that the people of the sacred mountain had underwater surveillance equipment. Thinking back to the time when he was in the Heart Refinement Courtyard, Kinsheng and Old Ma had monitored the scene of his underwater battle with the Black Flood Dragon. Lu Chun continued diving, his speed faster than usual. It was as if his body couldn't feel the water pressure and didn't need to take a breath. After diving for 10 minutes, the surroundings had become pitch black. Only the bead beside him provided a faint blue light. I'm almost 1,000 meters down, and I still haven't reached the bottom? Since I'm already here, let's go down and take a look. 2,000 meters. This place had already exceeded the height of the sacred mountain. He should already be underground. If it wasn't for the bead that the little golden carp had given Lu Chun, he definitely wouldn't be able to dive to such a deep place. Even if there was enough oxygen, the water pressure could directly crush him into meat paste. There weren't any living creatures underwater. This made Lu Chun a little surprised. After diving another 400 to 500 meters, he would probably reach the bottom of the lake. With the faint light of the bead, Lu Chun could see some strange rocks around him. There seems to be a person over there. Lu Chun looked at a black shadow not far away in surprise. It seemed to be in the shape of a human. There's someone here? Lu Chun was shocked. He swam over carefully. After swimming closer, Lu Chun finally saw it clearly. There was indeed a person here, but this person seemed to be dead. He sat there cross-legged and didn't move. His long hair fluttered with the water. What was surprising was that his body was still intact. His clothes were intact. If he hadn't been motionless for a long time, perhaps Lu Chun would have thought that he was a living person. Although that person's clothes and hair fluttered with the water, his body was as steady as a rock and didn't move at all. Lu Chun swam over curiously. Who is this guy? Why is he here? He didn't have any underwater protective Dharma treasure on him. How did he come to such a deep place? Lu Chun stretched out his hand and tried to touch that person's face. However, with just a touch, that person's body directly disintegrated. Damn, what the hell is this? Lu Chun hurriedly retracted his hand in fear. He glanced at his fingers. Fortunately, there was nothing wrong with them. The mysterious person's body instantly disintegrated. His hair and clothes fell off, and his skin and flesh disappeared with the water. Lu Chun felt his hair stand on end. How long has this guy been in the water? His body has actually been completely corroded. After that person disintegrated, a golden scroll suddenly fell out of his arms. The scroll was intact and slightly glowed with a golden light. Lu Chun learned his lesson this time. He used listen respectfully and sucked the scroll into his palm. He didn't know what the scroll was made of. It wasn't affected by the water and could be read normally. Lu Chun carefully opened the scroll. Before he started reading, a line of words suddenly jumped out from the system. Activated hidden mission, itinerant immortal's last wish, immortal level. Lu Chun's eyes were filled with disbelief. There was actually a hidden mission in the fifth heaven. It seemed that the fifth heaven was indeed a form of teleportation into the Jiuqian, but it was still a part of the Jiuqian. However, the fifth heaven was the fifth heaven after all. This was the first time Lu Chun had received an immortal-level hidden mission. Mission: restart the fifth heaven. Lu Chun was even more shocked. Wasn't the fifth heaven fine? What did it mean to restart the fifth heaven? Mission description: there are 5 major spirit veins in the fifth heaven. All of them were blocked by the demonic beast emperor, causing the fifth heaven's spirit energy to be scarce. For hundreds of years, the strength of the fifth heaven has stagnated. Very few people can ascend to the sixth heaven. I was ordered to descend from the sixth heaven to unblock the spirit veins and restart the prosperity of the fifth heaven. However, I was attacked by the demonic beast emperor under the heavenly lake of the sacred mountain. I fought with him. Although I killed him, my spirit energy was depleted and I was on the verge of death. I have specially left this book for the Fated One to obtain. Mission details: unblock 5 spirit veins in the fifth heaven. Each one is guarded by the demonic beast emperor's subordinates. Mission reward: 1 spirit stone vein in the fifth heaven. Lu Chun's eyes widened. Directly rewarded with a spirit stone vein? If it could be mined, didn't that mean that he could make cash withdrawal scrolls? Chapter 756. Behind a mysterious man, Lu Chun saw a huge skeleton. As the light of the pearl was too small, he couldn't see the whole thing at a glance. These skeletons were huge and endless. as if there was no end to them. F***CK. This is the remains of the demon beast supreme. It's estimated to be over 1,000 meters. Needless to say, if this demon beast supreme was not already dead, Liu Chan would feel weak even if he fought in the strongest state of soul-body fusion. Even if it was a loose immortal, it would only result in both sides suffering. Liu Chan still had self-awareness. He was definitely not its opponent. Fortunately, it had already been killed by the itinerant immortal, and now only a skeleton was left. Right, call Rhubarb out. Maybe I can find some treasures. Liu Chan quickly summoned Rhubarb. With the protection of the mysterious pearl, Rhubarb flapped twice and found that there was no problem in the water. It happily wagged its tail and swam in the water. Liu Chan couldn't speak underwater, so he directly ordered Rhubarb to try to find treasures. Not long after, Rhubarb swam in a direction. Liu Chan was delighted and followed closely. After swimming for a while, Rhubarb finally stopped. Below a skeleton, there was a cloud of black gas slightly circling around. Liu Chan didn't dare to approach it directly. He first opened his heaven's eye and found that there was nothing in the center of the black gas. Strange, Rhubarb said. There was a treasure here. What is it? Why didn't I see it? And what is this black gas emitted from? This matter was strange, so Liu Chan didn't dare to act rashly. He used his spirit energy to push the black gas away and take a look. Because the effect of activating spirit essence was reduced, Liu Chan directly activated soul-body fusion and used his battle soul to activate spirit essence. A large amount of spirit energy slowly approached the black gas, but in an instant, the spirit energy emitted by Liu Chan was directly absorbed by the black gas. The range of the black gas suddenly increased by dozens of times. This wasn't the worst. At this moment, Liu Chan found that the black gas was following the path of his spirit energy and pouncing towards him. It was like a hungry monster that saw its prey and excitedly pounced over. F***CK. What the hell is this? Liu Chan tried to cut off the overflow of spirit energy, but the black gas was still rushing towards him. It was extremely fast, and in a moment, it had already surrounded Liu Chan. Seeing the black gas quickly gathering around him as if it was going to swallow him, Liu Chan's eyes bulging. He first recalled Rhubarb, and then quickly emitted a large amount of spirit energy from between his palms to resist the black gas's corrosion. The black gas surrounded Liu Chan's body. When Liu Chan's spirit energy gushed out, it was quickly assimilated into the black gas, causing the range of the black gas to become larger and larger. Liu Chan was shocked. He was temporarily relying on the spirit energy storm to ensure that he could continuously emit spirit energy, but this was undoubtedly drinking poison to quench thirst. He could only let the black gas think that he was still useful and would not swallow him in one gulp. F***CK. There's such a terrifying thing under this heavenly lake. Liu Chan couldn't even find the enemy now. His opponent was just a mass of black gas. 10 minutes later, Liu Chan was still barely holding on, but if he could see the situation at the bottom of the lake, he would definitely be shocked. At first, it was only a small mass of black gas, but now it had expanded to a black sphere with a diameter of 300 to 400 meters. At this moment, the black gas began to compress inwards. Liu Chan could clearly feel that in order to expand the black gas's compression, he needed a large amount of spirit energy. A trace of blood appeared in the water. This was the blood that seeped out from the corner of Liu Chan's mouth after his physical body was injured. Just using spirit energy had already caused his physical body, no, the physical body of his battle soul, to be unable to withstand it. This showed how terrifying the spirit energy that Liu Chan was emitting was. 1,000,000 points of spirit energy was the upper limit of the fourth heavenly layer. In the end, the spirit energy storm could only last for less than 10 seconds. The black gas was still compressing inwards. Liu Chan was already bleeding from all 7 orifices. At this moment, a thought flashed through Liu Chan's mind. I'm going to die here. Even though he had rich battle experience and had survived many desperate situations, he really couldn't think of any countermeasures this time. Without an opponent, he wouldn't be able to use a large number of skills that could deal huge damage. The black gas continued to compress, and Lu Chun desperately resisted, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. However, he didn't have time to think, and all his energy was focused on resisting the black gas's compression. Gradually, Lu Chun was unable to resist. The spirit energy storm needed to last for about 3 seconds, but with his full spirit energy, he could only last for 3 seconds. As long as he couldn't use the spirit energy storm to replenish his spirit energy, it meant that he was doomed. I'm sorry, Rhubarb, Little Furball, Little Green, Xiao Min, we're going to die here. At this moment, the mysterious bead beside Lu Chun suddenly emitted a blue light. Lu Chun's position formed a whirlpool of water. In the next second, Lu Chun directly appeared outside the black gas. In an instant, the surrounding pressure disappeared. Lu Chun spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. His physical body's damage was as high as 80%. He looked at the mysterious bead in disbelief. This bead could actually bring him out of the black gas range. This could be a high-level displacement skill. The mysterious bead's light didn't diminish, and Lu Chun also saw the black gas not far away. What shocked Lu Chun was that the black gas didn't just absorb his spirit energy, it also absorbed the skeleton of the demon beast supreme. Lu Chun was inside the black gas at that time, so he couldn't see what was happening outside. This was only his guess. However, the incomparably huge skeleton was indeed gone, and besides him and the black gas, there were no other living things around. Since he didn't take the skeleton away, it was most likely the black gas. At this time, the black gas was still compressing, and it had already been compressed to a height of 10 meters. It was unknown how much spirit energy this black gas had absorbed from Lu Chun. At this time, it was highly condensed, and from a gaseous state, it gradually turned into a solid state. When the black gas was compressed to a height of 1 meter, it completely solidified. In front of Lu Chun, a black egg appeared. Lu Chun was dumbfounded. What's going on? Just as Lu Chun was surprised, the egg suddenly cracked from the inside, and a winged dragon broke out of the shell. After it finished eating the eggshell, it glanced at Lu Chun and then directly rushed to the surface of the water and disappeared. Lu Chun frowned. That thing is, wait, it can't be. The demon beast supreme has been reborn. The demon beast supreme that only itinerant immortals can kill has been reborn. This doesn't seem to be a good thing. Its speed is so fast, it disappeared in the blink of an eye. Just as Lu Chun was still thinking about whether to chase and kill that young dragon, the system suddenly sent a congratulatory message. Congratulations on activating the first spiritual source, the Holy Mountain's Heavenly Lake spiritual source. Mission completion. 1/5. The spiritual source is recovering for the first time. In about 30 days, the isolation layer will be completely destroyed. Please avoid directly approaching the spiritual source. As the system spoke, the rock stratum under Lu Chun's feet suddenly shook violently, and then a crack appeared in the rock stratum. From the crack, a torrential flow of spirit energy gushed out. Lu Chun's mind whirled. What a rich spirit energy! The system said that the isolation layer would be completely destroyed after 30 days. Now, he couldn't directly approach the spiritual source. In other words, in these 30 days, the isolation layer wouldn't be completely destroyed, and he couldn't directly come into contact with the spiritual source. To put simply, could he cultivate here for 30 days? Chapter 757. The spiritual origin was just below the rock layer, but the rock layer was still there. Lu Chun was safe here. He had 30 days to cultivate at the place closest to the spiritual origin. There was no one around, so Lu Chun immediately activated the Divine Demon symbiotic cultivation. The Divine Demon mixed element cultivation technique was currently at the 3rd level, increasing his spiritual energy by 20 points every minute. With the help of the mysterious bead, Lu Chun did not need to return to the surface to replenish his oxygen supply. There was also a large amount of food in his backpack that Ing Li had bought, which was enough for him to last for a while. In just 1 minute, Lu Chen's spiritual energy had increased by 50 points, which was 5 times more than normal cultivation. Lu Chen was shocked. This cultivation speed was too fast. At the third level, it was equivalent to one 100-point spiritual energy pill every 2 minutes. One immortal spiritual pill every 20 minutes. The mixed element cultivation technique could be cultivated to the fourth level when one's spiritual energy reached 1 million. At 1 million, one could cultivate to the fifth level. At the fifth level, one could obtain the third exclusive special effect, which allowed one to enter the second level of the inner demon state. Thinking of this, Lu Chen quickly collected his thoughts and focused on cultivating. At the bottom of the heavenly lake, the rock layer cracked and a large amount of spiritual energy surged out. The white light swept away the darkness at the bottom of the lake. This place was in a state of madness before it collapsed. However, in such a harsh environment, a figure sat cross-legged on a piece of rock layer that was still intact, without any distractions. At the fifth level, one needed to be especially focused when cultivating the cultivation technique. At the same time, it also consumed energy. Fortunately, the bottom of the lake was absolutely safe. Lu Chen only needed to focus on cultivating and did not need to worry about his own safety. On the first day, Lu Chen cultivated for 16 hours and slept for the remaining 8 hours to replenish his energy. In just one day, his spiritual energy increased by 48,000 points. 2 days later, the mixed element cultivation technique was upgraded to the fourth level. In the divine demon symbiotic cultivation technique, his spiritual energy increased by 40 points every minute. Cultivating at the bottom of the lake could increase his spiritual energy by 100 points every minute. In just another 10 days, Lu Chen's fighting soul's spiritual energy broke through 2 million points. It took him a few years to increase his spiritual energy to 1 million points. In the end, in just 10 days, his spiritual energy doubled. On the 13th day of his cultivation at the bottom of the lake, his Origin Celestial Devil Sutra had reached the fifth level. Lu Chen gained 80 spiritual energy every minute, which increased by 5 times. Now, Lu Chen gained 200 spiritual energy every minute, nearly 200,000 yuan a day. However, Lu Chen discovered that when his fighting soul's spiritual energy reached 2 million, the doubling of his spiritual source began to decrease. When his spiritual energy exceeded 2 million, it only increased by 2 times. When it exceeded 3 million, it only increased by 5 times. When it reached 4 million, there was no effect at all. At this time, Lu Chen had been cultivating at the bottom of the lake for 28 days. His battle soul's spiritual energy had reached 4 million. What kind of concept was this? A single spiritual space cannon had dealt 2 billion damage. Lu Chen felt a bit of regret after discovering that the spirit source didn't increase his spiritual force anymore. He was just short of 1 million to 5 million before he could activate the 6th layer of the Origin God and Devil cultivation method. However, Lu Chen thought about it. His fighting soul's spiritual energy was already very high. Before he obtained a new set of Origin God and Devil Sutra, he wouldn't be able to activate any new special effects. There were only 2 days left before the collapse of the rock layer. The surrounding environment was getting worse and worse. Lu Chen exited the state of Origin God and Devil symbiosis. This trip to the Heavenly Lake meeting wasn't in vain. Looking back at the bottom of the lake, there was once a loose immortal who had fought with Devil Bee Sovereign. Both of them had fallen. However, the loose immortal had disappeared with the water, but Devil Bee Sovereign had been reborn. Devil Bee Sovereign's rebirth could be said to be caused by Lu Chen. Rhubarb believed that there was a treasure here because it didn't feel the black gas, but the black gas blocking the spirit source. However, no matter what, Devil Bee Sovereign's rebirth was caused by Lu Chen. Lu Chen frowned. The immortal rank hidden mission required him to restart the 5th heavenly layer. If Devil Beast Sovereign interfered, then the mission couldn't be completed. Moreover, to go to the heaven-reaching tower, he had to pass through the Devil Beast nest. It seemed that a battle between him and Devil Bee Sovereign was unavoidable. At that time, Devil Bee Sovereign was still a cub. He didn't know how long it would take for it to reach adulthood, and whether he could deal with it by then. If even a loose immortal had to die, then it was still too early to worry about this. Lu Chun put it aside for the time being. At least, he had gained a lot in this Heavenly Lake meeting. It was almost time to go back. Just as Lu Chun was rising upstream, he suddenly saw a bubble drifting in the undercurrent not far away. What's going on? Lu Chun frowned and swam toward the bubble. The crowd around the Heavenly Lake didn't disperse. It was unknown how many years had passed, but the Heavenly Lake had suddenly undergone a great change. The originally calm water of the Heavenly Lake was now boiling endlessly like boiling water. A month ago, the Heavenly Lake suddenly became violent. A large amount of water surged out from the bottom of the lake, and even the whole sacred mountain shook. The 5 people who were bathing in the Heavenly Lake were instantly dragged into the undercurrent and disappeared. Yin Sun and the others were very anxious when they saw their disciples being swallowed by the undercurrent. Yin Sun was even more anxious to save his granddaughter, so he jumped into the water directly. However, the undercurrent at the bottom of the lake carried a strong spiritual qi. If Yin Sun wasn't strong enough, he would have been dragged into the lake as well. Now, no one dared to go into the water. They could only wait for the Heavenly Lake to calm down and see if there was any hope for those who were swallowed to surface. This wait lasted for a month. The Heavenly Lake is boiling, and the undercurrent is swallowing people. What is going on? I have never heard of such a thing before. I have also never heard of such a thing. According to our ancient records, many years ago, the water of the Heavenly Lake had the ability to increase the attributes of spiritual qi. However, at that time, the Heavenly Lake was gentle. It was never as violent as it is now. Could it be that a giant beast has awakened at the bottom of the lake? There should be no living creatures at the bottom of the Heavenly Lake. Sigh. Now, no one knows what is going on at the bottom of the lake. I wonder if those people have any hope of surviving. Yin Sun had been waiting beside the Heavenly Lake for a month. He could only watch helplessly as his granddaughter was swept away by the undercurrent. He was heartbroken. However, their physiques were far stronger than ordinary people. Moreover, there were disciples who specialized in the water element among them. There was still a chance of survival. At the beginning of the mutation, the spiritual qi in the undercurrent was enough to mess up Yin Sun's spirit core, not to mention Yin Ling and the others. Now that the water of the Heavenly Lake was becoming more and more restless, their already weak hope became even more uncertain. Ling Xian Changsheng. Yin Sun's eyes were dry, and his heart was dead. Lu Chen swam towards the bubble. There were 5 figures in the bubble. Lu Chen looked at them and saw that they were Yin Ling and the others. At that moment, 4 of the 5 people were lying on the ground. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. Only Yin Ling was holding on to the bubble with both of her hands. However, Yin Ling was also at the end of her life. Her face was pale, and her eyes were lifeless. Streaks of undercurrent hit the bubble mercilessly. Every time it hit the bubble, Yin Ling would spit out a mouthful of blood. It seemed that she would not be able to hold on for much longer. On the 28th day, the 5 people encountered a mutation and were swept to the bottom of the lake. At that time, the 5 of them did not care about their sex and hurriedly huddled together to survive. However, after 28 days, the Heavenly Lake became more and more restless. They fell one by one, and now only Yin Ling was left. However, she could not hold on any longer. A ferocious undercurrent hit the bubble. Yin Ling spat out a mouthful of blood, and the bubble was directly pierced. It was over. Chapter 758. The bubble was punctured and a large amount of lake water surged forth, instantly washing away the 5 of them. Yin Ling's consciousness was already blurred. She could only watch as her companions were swept away by the current. Senior brother Huang Xian, senior brother Changsheng, I'm sorry. Sister Yuyin, Sheng Gui. Yin Ling wanted to save them, but her spiritual energy had already been exhausted. Her body could only be controlled by the undercurrent. Only that annoying guy wasn't here. Was he still alive? Under such circumstances, the five of them couldn't survive even if they tried their best. That guy must be dead. She didn't know why, but the last moment of her life, Yinling actually thought of that person. The guy who threw her out of the day, chasing competition, really hated her to the extreme. Her consciousness gradually blurred. She couldn't open her eyes anymore and slowly closed them. The lake water rushed into her lungs at this moment. An incomparably tyrannical pulling force suddenly came from not far away. Yinling found that her body was fiercely moving in a certain direction. This undercurrent was actually so fierce. What exactly happened at the bottom of the lake? However, not long after, the same feeling in the day chasing competition came again. A strong hand hugged her waist, followed by an ordinary but abnormally annoying face. Was this a dream? What a terrifying dream. Lu Chen frowned and shook his head. Then he very disdainfully kissed her. Yinling, who was about to faint, suddenly opened her eyes wide. She instantly woke up. To be honest, Lu Chen didn't know how to do underwater mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. He didn't know the difference between it and kissing. But fortunately, after a kiss, the guy finally reacted a little and kept hammering his little fist. In terms of the effect, it was immediate. It seemed that CPR should be like this. He finally grasped first aid knowledge. After the CPR ended, Yinling's eyes were slightly red. Lu Chen guessed that she might have been moved by him. Lu Chen had the mysterious bead by his side. He pulled Yinling, so her life shouldn't be in danger. Then Lu Chen directly used the triple door and pulled Huang Xian and the others over. These people were already unconscious, so artificial respiration under the water was probably useless. They had to go ashore as soon as possible. The longer they stayed underwater, the smaller their chances of survival would be. Lu Chen couldn't care less. He activated 3 lives of reincarnation and shortened the cool-down of his displacement. 9 void steps, 7 stars chasing the moon, triple gate. Lu Chen led the 5 of them to avoid the undercurrents as they frantically moved towards the surface of the lake. Sect Master, more than 20 days have passed. I'm afraid that Ling and the others are. Elder Xian shook his head and looked at the increasingly turbulent heavenly lake water. I don't know why the heavenly lake is so restless. Not even the ancient books in the heavenly lake of the holy mountain had recorded such a situation. Yin Sun heaved a long sigh. He seemed to have aged a lot in an instant. I wanted to give him a chance, but who would have thought? They were all talented juniors. If nothing goes wrong, they will all be successful in the future. As a sect leader, I can't absolve myself from the blame. Sect leader, it's hard to predict what will happen to the Jiutian. My condolences. Just as everyone was about to give up, the surface of the water suddenly exploded. A few figures broke through the water and were thrown over. Senior Yin, 4 of them are drowning. Save them. A voice sounded. Then, Nameless appeared in a flash. When everyone saw this scene, their mood suddenly dropped to the bottom of the valley and rose to their throats. In such a heavenly lake, after 28 days of strange movements, there were still people who could come out alive from the bottom of the lake. However, now was not the time to dwell on this. Yin Sun saw Ling, and Huang Xian at a glance. Of course, he couldn't care less about Nameless. Quick, save them. Yin Sun and the other sect leaders of the Eastern Lai sect leaped high and caught them. They immediately organized a rescue. Although these people were already half dead because of the depletion of their spiritual power, Lu Chen arrived in time. After a round of rescue, these people finally spat out the water in their lungs. It seemed that they were alive. Yinling's limbs were also weak. Lu Chen carried her like a princess and landed with him. Lu Chen kept feeling that someone was looking at him with resentment. When he looked down, he saw that it was Yinling. However, Yinling didn't say anything. She just had a murderous look in her eyes. Hey, I saved you. Aren't you going to thank me? I cough, cough, cough. Yinling was just about to speak when she was interrupted by a cough. Linger. Yin Sun rushed over and anxiously took Yinling from Lu Chen. When Yinling saw her grandfather, she immediately cried. It's okay, it's okay. You're finally okay. You scare me to death. Yin Sun comforted his granddaughter. Then he looked at Lu Chun and said excitedly, "Nameless, thank you so much this time. Those children are also saved. It's really scary, but not dangerous." "That's great." Lu Chun smiled slightly. "It's just a small matter. Senior Yin, you don't have to be so polite." The heavenly lake was bathed in a sudden change. However, Lu Chun appeared in time. The sect leaders and elders of the Holy Mountain, Eastern Lai, and Whooping came to thank him. After 28 days of fear and trepidation, these people finally received good news. "Nameless, are you okay?" It was only now that people paid attention to Lu Chun. As he used the 3 lives reincarnation technique in his original form, Lu Chun's condition was very bad. His face was pale, and he was bleeding from his 7 orifices. "I'm fine. I'm just a little tired." "Someone, Ingli, quickly take Nameless to rest." That night, Lu Chun had already recovered. The disciples who had bathed in the heavenly lake were also basically healed. Yin Sun was anxious when he saw the changes in the heavenly lake. The 6 of them went to the meeting hall. When Lu Chun entered, he realized that not only were there people from the Holy Mountain, there were also many sect leaders from other sections. When Chang Sheng, Yu Yin, and Shangui saw Lu Chun, they all went up to him. "Thank you, Brother Nameless, for saving our lives. We can never repay you. If it weren't for Brother Nameless, we would have been buried at the bottom of the lake. I can't thank you enough. If you need Shingui's help in the future, Brother Nameless, please don't hesitate to ask." Lu Chun smiled. "I just happened to meet you. It's just a small matter. You don't have to take it to heart." Huang Xian saw his master glaring at him. He knew that his master wanted him to thank him personally. However, he was unwilling to move because of his face. Yin Ling was even more unwilling. She stood in place and was in a dilemma. Yin Sun finally couldn't help but speak. As soon as she opened her mouth, she shouted angrily, "Ling or Xianer, do you want me to teach you how to behave?" The 2 of them were shocked as well. The sect leader was angry. The 2 of them walked up to Lu Chun. Thank you for saving our lives." "Thank you." Lu Chun smiled and didn't argue with the 2 of them. Lu Chun's position was different from the other disciples. The other disciples all stood behind the elders. Only Lu Chun had a special seat like the other sect leaders and elders. Moreover, he was right beside Yin Sun. This was enough to show that in the eyes of the others, Lu Chun's position was enough to be on equal footing with the elders. After Lu Chun sat down, Yin Sun went straight to the point. "Nameless, do you know what happened at the bottom of the heavenly lake?" Chapter 759. The atmosphere suddenly became serious. Lu Chun thought for a while and did not answer directly. Instead, he asked Yin Sun, "Senior Yin, I want to ask, how was the strength of Heavenly Lake in the past?" In the ancient books of your sect, was there a gap in strength?" Yin Sun was a little surprised. He did not know why Nameless would ask this question, but it was not a secret, so he answered, "Actually, there was a gap in strength in the entire Holy Mountain. Or rather, the whole 5th heaven was the same. 1,500 years ago, the strong cultivators of the Holy Mountain could reach the great cultivator realm, and their cultivation speed was much faster than now. But now the great cultivators can go to a wider area to gain experience. They don't need to stay in the Holy Mountain anymore. Comparing the past and present, it is not difficult to find that the strength of the 5th heaven has regressed." Lu Chun nodded. What Yin Sun said coincided with the task of restart the 5th heaven. This matter was related to the fate of the Holy Mountain and even the whole 5th heaven. Lu Chun told them the truth. The great change of Heavenly Lake this time is actually an opportunity for Heavenly Lake in the Holy Mountain. It is also an opportunity for all the sects in the Holy Mountain. Everyone was shocked. Yin Sun asked excitedly, "Little Nameless, what do you mean?" Heavenly Lake in the Holy Mountain has always been the spiritual source of Heavenly Lake. However, the spiritual power in Heavenly Lake is much more than before. At this time tomorrow, Heavenly Lake's spiritual source will be fully revealed. The spiritual power released at that time will affect the whole Holy Mountain. This, Yin Sun's eyes widened. The spiritual power in Heavenly Lake is already very abundant. Can it still be increased? The sect leaders could not keep calm anymore. If what little Nameless said is true, then the cultivation speed of the fighting soul will be greatly increased. The strength of the fighting soul will increase after the fusion of the soul and body. Then, you can obtain more extraction scrolls faster. Is this for real? Lu Chun continued. This is indeed an opportunity for you. But at the same time, there's also a piece of unfortunate news. Devil Beast Sovereign has been reborn. With a clatter, someone's teacup fell to the ground and shattered into pieces. Demon Demonic Beast Sovereign. Nameless little friend, are you talking about the legendary demonized winged dragon? Lu Chen frowned and said, I don't know what it is, but speaking of Yinglong, it does look like it. I wonder if you guys saw anything rushing out of the lake some time ago. Yin Sun recalled, yes, but it was just a cloud of black gas. At that time, the cloud of black gas rushed out of the lake at an extremely fast speed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Nameless, you're not talking about that cloud of black gas, right? After fighting with the black gas, Lu Chun was very sure that he was talking about the black gas. Seeing Lu Chen's face darken, Yin Sun's heart sank. It seemed that it was very likely to be that thing. Lu Chen took a deep breath. A demonic beast that could only fight on par with a loose immortal, the pressure on him was not ordinary. Forget it, let's not talk about this for now. After all, it should still be in its infancy. Now, you should prepare to move your sect. When the Heavenly Lake Spirit Vein reopens, this place will probably collapse. Such a strong impact? Lu Chen nodded. The situation at the bottom of the lake is much more terrifying than what you see. Prepare to move today. And immediately get people to move the civilians at the bottom of the mountain. Yin Sun immediately stood up and ordered the elders and disciples present to move quickly. Elder Xian was a little hesitant. Sect leader, what Nameless said, is it certain that it will happen? What I mean is, the Heavenly Lake is the foundation of our sect for thousands of years. Are we going to give it up just like that? Yin Sun narrowed his eyes slightly. For this kind of thing, it's better to believe it than not. If we're not prepared, then all the items in the sect will be destroyed. But if it doesn't happen, we can still come back. Moreover, let me ask you, if it was you, could you stay under the Heavenly Lake for a month? Elder Xian was speechless. At that time, he also tried to go into the water, but the undercurrent was too strong and almost swallowed him. Nameless was able to escape unscathed after staying under the water for a month. Just this alone was enough to prove his strength. And he was the only one who saw the situation at the bottom of the lake. The shaking of the holy mountain was becoming more and more obvious. The situation Nameless said was very likely true. Right? Huang Xian, Yin Ling, the two of you go and inform the civilians at the bottom of the mountain. Stop them from leaving the holy mountain. Lu Chen looked at Yin Sun. This old man was not too stupid. He thought about it very thoroughly. It was not in vain for him to inform them in advance. And he also had a kind heart. He still remembered to inform the civilians. There was no time to lose. The entire holy mountain had already moved. The disciples packed up the items. The elders tidied up the sect's warehouse. And there were also people who went down the mountain to inform the civilians. The entire holy mountain was busy. That night, the disciples of the holy mountain had already gone down the mountain. They temporarily camped at another mountainside 1,000 meters away. In an instant, this nameless mountain was filled with flickering bonfires on the mountainside. One could vaguely see the figures of people moving around. Many disciples still did not know what was going on. The disciples were discussing it everywhere. Lu Chen did not stay with the disciples. Instead, he went to the area where the civilians were. The people here were still confused. But since the immortals said to move, they just followed. Suddenly, they were on the same mountain as the so-called immortals. These people were locked to the side. They did not dare to speak loudly or move around casually. They were very cautious. It had to be said that Lu Chen's fisherman's clothes and his ordinary appearance made it easy for him to blend in with the civilians. When he came, the people did not know that he was also an immortal. A few children were crying. They were frightened by their mother and stopped crying. Disturbing the immortal's rest was a terrible thing. "Mom, why do we have to leave home?" Don't talk too much. The immortals told us to leave, so we will leave. A sturdy farmer was educating a 5 or 6-year-old boy. At this moment, a man walked over and sat beside the child. Because it will become very dangerous over there. For these civilians, it must be very difficult to give up the family business that they had painstakingly accumulated. But with their low status, they did not dare to ask any questions. The farmer woman was about to say something, but when she saw the badge on Lu Chen's chest, she immediately widened her eyes and did not dare to make a sound. A child's words carried no harm. When the child saw Lu Chen, he was not too afraid. "Uncle, there are immortals over there. They will protect us." Lu Chen stroked the child's hair and said with a smile, "That is a disaster that even immortals cannot prevent. Moreover, you can't always rely on others for everything. Only when you become strong can you protect yourself." The little brat only understood half of it, but the farmer woman was scared half to death. "Immortal, please forgive me. The child does not know anything. He is not blaming immortals." Lu Chen did not need to smile. "Auntie, no need to be nervous." "Auntie?" The farmer woman almost thought that she was hallucinating. Immortals called her auntie? The immortals of the sacred mountain were not bad, but they would definitely not be so polite. This strange immortal did not seem to think that she was superior to others at all. Lu Chen sat beside them and looked back at the rumbling sacred mountain. Restart the fifth heaven? When the fifth heaven and the 5 great spirit veins were all restarted, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth would be abundant. Would these mortals also have the opportunity to become strong? Chapter 760. Once he completed the immortal level hidden mission, the fifth heaven would be reactivated. Lu Chen could not imagine what the fifth heaven would be like then. Surprisingly, Yinling was actually near the commoners' camp. She was distributing some food to the commoners. When she looked up, she happened to see Lu Chen chatting and laughing with the child. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. They actually bumped into each other here. Yinling was stunned when she saw that guy casually chatting with a mother and child from afar. Lu Chen's smile came from the bottom of his heart. He was different from all the other disciples. His conversation was very natural, and the other party did not feel pressured at all when talking to him. Gradually, the surrounding people also crowded over. Waves of laughter came from the crowd. "This guy? Why do I feel like he's a different person when he competed with us?" Yinling frowned. It was as if he was his true self now. "Junior sister Yinling, what are you looking at?" The sect master said that he wants to distribute the food. "I really don't understand why. They have hands and feet. Why do they want me to distribute food to them personally?" "That's right. What's our status?" "What's their status?" "The sacred mountain is already very good to the commoners. Now, we have to take care of them? I've never heard of this before." The discussion of the disciples beside her woke Yinling up. "Yinling, there are still some people over there. Go distribute the food. I really don't want to stay here." Yinling nodded and walked toward the crowd. Lu Chen was listening to them talk about the dragon hunt. He was very curious about the dragon hunt. He wondered if a fifth heaven dragon hunt was considered a jungler. He heard from the villagers that there were many treasures on the demon beasts that immortals could use. If they could hunt one, the entire village would be able to eat for a long time. Lu Chen could not help but think of the dragon hunt village at that moment. Yinling walked over with a basket of dry food in her hands. Immediately, someone respectfully took the food from Yinling and distributed it. Everyone was also hungry. They brought food to their families one after another. All of a sudden, Lu Chen was the only one left here. Seeing that there was no one to chat with, Lu Chen shook his head and got ready to leave. "Hey, wait," Yinling called out to Lu Chen. Lu Chen turned his head curiously. "What?" Yinling didn't know what to say for a moment. She felt a little awkward. This person would rather chat with these mortals, but had nothing to say to immortal cultivators? What a strange person. Heavenly Lake, thank you for saving everyone." Yinling finally spoke. "Didn't you already thank me? That time, it was my grandfather who forced me. But don't think that I will think that you are a good person. You actually took the opportunity to molest me." "I admit that I'm not a good person, but big sis, when did I ever take advantage of you?" Lu Chen looked aggrieved. That was CPR. I saw that you were about to drown, so I gave you oxygen. I haven't even given you the cold shoulder yet. We're not that close. Why are you drooling? You. Yin Ling's neck turned red. This guy's words were too infuriating. Oxygen? Yin Ling definitely had reason to think that Lu Chun was lying. At that time, not to mention giving her oxygen, she almost ran out of oxygen. Otherwise, she wouldn't have felt like she was suffocating. This guy hugged her twice and even kissed her once. Just thinking about it made her feel disgusted. More importantly, he took advantage of her and still didn't admit it. That was extremely disgusting. Yin Ling's feelings towards Lu Chun were too complicated. On one hand, she hated him, but on the other hand, she couldn't help but admire him. What she saw just now made her a little curious about this guy. In short, it was too complicated. You relied on that pearl to survive in Heavenly Lake? Lu Chun nodded. Yes. Yin Ling felt a little better. At least it meant that this guy wasn't much stronger than her. He just happened to have a treasure that could be used underwater. What did you talk to them about just now? I saw that they seemed to like chatting with you. Just casually chatting about their lives. I hope that the Holy Mountain will always treat them well like Senior Yin. Yin Ling was stunned. Other than her grandfather, this guy was the first person she met who would sympathize with the commoners. Yin Ling had been influenced by her grandfather since she was young. She couldn't help but agree with Lu Chun's words. What kind of person was this guy? He seemed to be different from the others. Lu Chun didn't want to be entangled with this woman anymore. He turned around and left, leaving Yin Ling standing there in a daze. As the #1 beauty in the Holy Mountain, which male disciple wouldn't be as beautiful as a flower when they were alone with her? This guy just left like that. I really hate him, Yin Ling said fiercely. The next afternoon, the ground in the direction of the Holy Mountain shook violently. Then, the Holy Mountain that had been sleeping for God knows how many years suddenly erupted. Immeasurable amounts of Heavenly Lake water poured out from the mouth of the mountain. Water pillars shot up into the sky. When the water fell, it instantly flooded the mountain. Seeing this scene, everyone was so scared that their faces turned pale. If Nameless hadn't informed them in advance, they would still be in the sect. If that happened, not only would they die, but at least 70 to 80% of the sect's wealth would be washed away. The commoners at the foot of the mountain would also not be spared. Nameless brother, I really don't know how to thank you. Seeker was still in shock. He pulled Lu Chun and said. Lu Chun said seriously, there's no need to thank me. I hope that the Holy Mountain will continue to do what it is doing now. Don't be like the other sects that don't treat the commoners as humans. Seeker looked at Lu Chun in surprise. Was Nameless willing to help them because he had always been kind to the commoners? All right, with your strength, it won't be difficult to rebuild your sect. I should leave. Nameless brother, are you leaving now? Yes, I have other things to do. Seeker knew that he couldn't make Lu Chun stay, so he could only sigh. Well, with Nameless brother's strength, it's natural for you to explore the wider sky. However, you're only a 7-star cultivator now. The strength of your body is very important in the 5th layer. I suggest you go to a bigger city first and get more cash extraction scrolls to improve your body strength. Lu Chun, of course, knew this. Anyway, he still had a lot of spirit stones. He just needed to see if he could find cash extraction scrolls. As he spoke, Yin Sun took out a stack of cash withdrawal coupons and stuffed them into Lu Chun's hands. Brother John Doe, these are 5,100-point cash withdrawal coupons. You've saved our Holy Mountain from such a huge loss and even saved Ling, and the others. Lu Chun looked at the cash extraction scrolls and his eyes lit up. He didn't hesitate and accepted them without saying anything. Then I'll accept. He had helped the Holy Mountain Heavenly Lake a lot, so he accepted the cash extraction scrolls with a clear conscience. Yes. Nameless brother is really straightforward. Oh, by the way, Nameless brother, there's one more thing I want to ask you. Seeker leaned close to Lu Chun's ear and whispered, Are you solipsistic, brother? Lu Chun was quite surprised. He didn't expect Seeker to have thought of this. Basically, no one from the 4th layer would come to the 5th layer. Plus, nameless fighting strength made it easy for Seeker to connect the two. Yes, Lu Chen didn't hide it anymore. Even if the entire Holy Mountain wanted to stop him, he was confident that he could escape. After Yin Sun got the answer, she didn't do anything. She just smiled at Lu Chen and said, "I care about the world. Brother John Doe, I wish you a safe journey." Chapter 761. With the heavenly lake's spirit veins unobstructed, the sacred mountain would benefit greatly in the future. The status of the sacred mountain would also change. They would also have to face an even more violent storm. However, what Lu Chen had to face was even more terrifying than the sacred mountain. After bidding farewell to Mistress and the others, Lu Chen once again embarked on his journey. Walking in the forest, Lu Chen could feel that the surrounding spiritual energy was much denser than before. However, this increase was still incomparable to the increase he felt at the bottom of the lake. The benefits of the spirit veins are really great. Lu Chen couldn't help but sigh. 3 million spiritual energy points in 30 days. There were 7 countries in the 5th layer of heaven and countless sections. Every sect had their own spirit veins. Restart the 5th layer of heaven only gave him a quest, but it didn't tell him where the other 4 spirit veins were. It should be in some sects with a long history. Lu Chen guessed. Sects with a long history. There seem to be a lot of them. Damn it. I feel like I'm looking for a needle in a haystack. At night, Lu Chen followed the instructions and found a small stream to sleep. Speaking of which, in the past 9 days, not to mention other abilities, Lu Chen's ability to survive in the wild had improved a lot. After Little Min and Little Green finished setting up the campsite, they brought the Little Fur Ball, Big Yellow, to search for herbs nearby. Lu Chen was fishing by the stream. Last time, he was transferred to a small golden carp and was given a mysterious pearl. If it wasn't for that pearl, he would have been turned into a part of the egg by Magical Bee Sovereign. I don't know if Magical Bee Sovereign has returned to the Magical Beast Nest. If it really went back, it would be troublesome. With my current strength, I definitely can't go to that place. Well, I can go there. It might have already grown up. Thinking of this troublesome boss, Lu Chen felt a lot of pressure. It doesn't matter. It's getting stronger, so I have to keep getting stronger. Also, I have to look for the spirit veins. Only when I have enough strength will I have the opportunity to come into contact with more ancient sects. Increasing his strength was the safest and most effective strategy. Yin Sun gave Lu Chen a map of the Sacred Mountain area. The Sacred Mountain area was much larger than the Green Dragon Gate. Without using Soul Body as one, it would take at least a month to get out. The Sacred Mountain is so big, and this is only a small place in the Eastern Peak Nation. Then how big is the 5th heaven in the Eastern Peak Nation? Damn, is the 5th heaven really a complete planet? He still had to use a mount. All right, we can use the Taizu. As Lu Chen's understanding of the 5th layer of heaven deepened, he understood that the extracted items could be used directly without the need for soul-body fusion. It consumed a lot of spiritual energy, but using the spiritual energy storm could make up for it. Looking at the map carefully, Lu Chen locked onto Wu Bangcheng, the largest city in the Sacred Mountain region. Right now, Lu Chen had 12,450 cash withdrawal coupons on him. The Azure Dragon clan had a total of 9,450 cash withdrawal coupons. Lu Chen had already used up 2,000 cash withdrawal coupons, but Yin Sun had given him 5,000 cash withdrawal coupons. It could be seen that Yin Sun really valued Lu Chen. Lu Chen had wanted to add points to the Heavenly Lake Conference, but now that it was no longer necessary, he was ready to use them all. He spent 3,000 points to increase his spiritual energy to 9,000 points. Promotion to 9-star Wilderness Cultivator. Ranking below 8 million. Breaking through to Cultivator requires 2,000 points to extract points. I need to extract points to break through? Lu Chen felt a little heartache, but since he was going to break through anyway, he decided to endure the pain. 2,000 it is. Breakthrough. 2,000 points. Lu Chen felt a slight heat in his lower abdomen. Then, the heat spread to every part of his body. He felt indescribably comfortable. Then, a crisp sound came from his joints and bones. Damn, it feels like my whole body is being massaged. Ah, my waist, asterisk asterisk. Half an hour later, the breakthrough was finally completed. Lu Chan was still immersed in the comfortable feeling just now. Is this a breakthrough? It feels like my whole body has been transformed. He took a deep breath and felt comfortable all over. Congratulations, you have completed the breakthrough. Your cultivation level has been raised to 1-star wilderness cultivator. Current ranking, below 7,500,000. There are still 7,500,000? Are there so many level 5 experts? Lu Chun quickly realized that after reaching the cultivator realm, every level required 5,000 points of spiritual energy. Damn, the increase is too fierce. I thought it would only take 2,000 points. He had already used 5,000 points of the extraction points. He was left with 7,450 points. It was not worth it to add more points of spiritual energy. If I change it to 3 dimensions, the remaining extraction points can add 22,350 points of attributes. It's better to add some other attributes. Let's add 3 dimensions. I feel that there will be a lot of fights in the future. In the end, Lu Chen's strength, agility, and physique all reached around 11,000 points. It still can't compare to my war soul. I have to think of a way to get more extraction points. 10,000 miles away, in a dark, dense forest. The vegetation here was lush and the forest was shrouded in mist. Not far away, a large group of sky demon soldiers were guarding a mine. There were people constantly pushing out mining carts from the mine. The carts were filled with unprocessed spirit stones. This was a spirit stone mine. Although spirit stones were generally regarded as a form of currency, on the other hand, they were a natural mineral that contained spirit chi. It was just that the spirit chi in spirit stones dissipated very slowly. Extracting spirit chi from spirit stones was 100 times more difficult than extracting spirit chi from spirit veins. Therefore, basically no one used spirit stones as a source of spirit chi. In a haystack not far away, a black shadow was curled up in the dark. Its body blended into the shadows of the surrounding trees, making it difficult to notice even if one approached it. Its scarlet eyes were like wild fruits in the forest, unnoticeable as well. Not long after, a sky demon worker came nearby to relieve himself. Sigh, how nice would it be if all these spirit stones were mine? I'd be rich. The man was daydreaming. After all, it was a crime punishable by death to keep spirit stones. Moreover, these spirit stones required a series of complicated processing before they could be turned into spirit stone currency, something he definitely could not do. A cold wind blew past, and the man could not help but shiver. What evil wind is this? Why is it so cold? The man was done and was about to pull up his pants and leave. Unwittingly, he saw that the 2 wild fruits in front of him were especially large. Red from the mountain? Why would there be such fruits in this place? When he looked more closely, he realized that they were not wild fruits. After all, the wild fruits were like a pair of eyes that blinked once. In fact, the pair of eyes did blink once. Before he could call for help, the sky demon was already dragged into the grass. Not long after, the man wobbled out of the bushes. He turned around to look at the bushes behind him and smiled. In the bushes, there was a skinless corpse lying there. Spirit stone mine, ha! I'm coming. 3 days later, the sky demon upper echelons received frightening news. One of their spirit stone mines in the East Peak Nation had been attacked. 113 cultivators, 478 cultivators, and over 1,000 civilians had died. Their deaths were extremely gruesome. Their bodies had been sucked dry, leaving just over 2,000 human skins at the scene. What was even more frightening was that the spirit stone mines that had been mined had all disappeared. Chapter 762. Half a month later, Lu Chun felt that he was becoming more and more like a wild cultivator, living in the mountains and forests all day. Looking at the magnificent city in front of him, Lu Chun was so excited that he almost cried. I'm finally in the city. Lu Chun excitedly walked towards the city. However, The strange thing was that Wu Bangsheng was such a big city, but there were not many people who really entered the city. On the contrary, there were many people gathered around the city, and it had even formed a large-scale trading area. There were people selling food, herbs, and equipment. It was very lively. It's more lively outside the city than inside. What the hell? Lu Chun walked into the market and looked around. Friend, do you want to buy clothes? A hawker called out to Lu Chun. Lu Chun walked over. He did not lack clothes. Wild Bloodsword God, Lonely Shadow Fishing, Devil King descends, and there was also a set of couple clothes that he had not had the chance to wear. After all, he had found someone to wear couple clothes with. He was mainly here to understand the situation. Friend, I've been paying attention to you for a long time. You've been walking around here for a long time, buying a little bit of everything. However, it seems that your mind is not on buying things. I have information here. Do you want to buy it? Lu Chun raised his head and glanced at the hawker. This hawker looked delicate and had a good temperament. After listening to his words, it seemed that his observation skills were also good. He did not expect that he was just setting up a stall outside the city. Do you want to enter the city? The hawker asked in a low voice. Yes. However, I see that very few people enter the city. Why is that? Lu Chun asked. The hawker looked at Lu Chun with a smile and did not speak. Lu Chun helplessly took out 10 spirit stones from his backpack and handed them over. The hawker smiled and said, Wu Bangsheng only serves experts above the level of cultivator. The hawker stood up and revealed the badge on his chest. He was a 9-star cultivator. People like us cannot enter the city. We can only set up a stall outside the city. Lu Chun looked back at the city gate. Sure enough, those who entered the city gate seemed to be cultivators. Then I should be able to enter. The peddler didn't say anything else. It was obvious that he had to pay more. Lu Chun frowned. Little brother, you earn money too easily. Information is also very valuable. Lu Chun shook his head and gave him another 10 spirit stones. Oh, let me see your badge. Lu Chun lowered his head and straightened his clothes, revealing the badge on his chest. 1-star cultivator. That's not right. You are a 1-star cultivator? It can't be right. There are wild cultivators? Lu Chun shook his head helplessly. What did he mean by wild? Could it be that there were domesticated ones? When the peddler saw Lu Chun's expression, he remembered that he had already received the money. After thinking for a moment, he said, Normally, you should be able to go in. However, this is a special period, and they might test your strength. You also know that the cultivation level only depends on spiritual power, but a person's strength doesn't only depend on spiritual power. Some people blindly increase their spiritual power, causing their physical body to become very weak. In fact, they're strong on the outside, but weak on the inside. Because there are all kinds of tests in the sect, the disciples of the sect will often raise the 3 dimensions. However, if you're an unaffiliated cultivator and no one cares about you, you will definitely use the cash extraction scroll casually. No one will know if you are only after the cultivation level and ignore the other attributes. It didn't matter what the test was, but Lu Chun was curious about what special period it was now. Also, why did Wu Bangsheng only allow strong people to enter? After he raised these 2 questions, he took the initiative to pay 20 spirit stones. The peddler nodded in satisfaction. Wu Bangsheng's city lord Shang Wu has reached the level of a great cultivator. In his opinion, cultivators entering the city are tarnishing Wu Bangsheng's reputation. Then, Wu Bangsheng's city lord is holding a martial arts competition to find a spouse. I don't need to say more about what it means to be able to climb up this big tree. There is an endless stream of applicants, so the requirements are stricter than usual. A rare, unaffiliated cultivator like you will definitely have to be checked. Lu Chun finally understood. What does the martial arts competition have to do with me? All right, are there any cash extraction scrolls in the city? 10 spirit stones. Those who can enter the city are all strong people. The demand for cash extraction scrolls is very high. If you are lucky, you should be able to find some. However, there are many people buying them. If you want to buy them, it depends on whether you are lucky or not. Lu Chun nodded. The information he wanted to know was more or less clear. Just as Lu Chun was about to leave, the peddler suddenly called out to him. Hey friend, wait. How did you get so many cash extraction scrolls? How did you become a cultivator without joining a sect? Lu Chun smiled slightly and didn't say anything. The peddler was stunned. He didn't expect this guy to learn so quickly. However, if he knew how to get cash extraction scrolls, it was worth it to spend some spirit stones. After all, he was already a 9-star cultivator. If he could get some cash extraction scrolls, he would break through soon. 10 spirit stones. Lu Chun shook his head. My information is worth more than this. Lu Chun asked ordinary questions, but the peddler asked sensitive questions. Naturally, the price was different. The price was increased to 30 spirit stones. Lu Chun smiled slightly. I bought it with spirit stones. Of course, he wouldn't say that he got the cash extraction scrolls by destroying the Azure Dragon clan. He also wouldn't say that Yin Sun gave him 5,000 cash extraction scrolls. That's a lot of money. How did you get so many spirit stones? Lu Chun smiled but didn't say anything. Another 30 spirit stones. I earned it at the 4th layer. Damn, the peddler almost cursed. He thought that he had some special way to get rich, but it turned out that he was at the 4th layer. Thanks. Lu Chun earned 20 spirit stones and happily walked to the city gate. As soon as he walked to the gate, sure enough, 2 burly soldiers stopped Lu Chun with their guns. A 1-star cultivator? Ertzi, are my eyes playing tricks on me? There are even cultivators who are wild. Really? Hey kid, you didn't use all your cash extraction scrolls on spiritual power, did you? For the young miss, it seems that there are people who are willing to do anything. Lu Chun shook his head. I'm not here to participate in the marriage contest. I just want to go into the city to buy something. I don't care what you do. The city lord only respects people with strength. If you only have a name of a cultivator and don't have the strength, then I'm sorry, but don't even think about sneaking into Wu Bang City. Lu Chun was already prepared. He said indifferently, okay, it's just a test. Go ahead. The guards had already taken out the strength testing stone. Lu Chun was just about to test it. At this time, a large group of people and horses came from afar. Although it was called a horse group, the people in the group were not riding horses. They were all white unicorns. Unicorns were considered a rare mount. This group actually gathered 70 to 80 of them, and even used them to pull carriages. They were really rich. This group of people attracted countless gazes. Many people gathered on both sides of the official road and whispered. There was a wide carriage in the group. There were curtains around the carriage. It's Lord Ye's son, the number 1 genius of the sacred mountain. Lord Ye's son? He's also here? He has been in the 5th layer of heaven for 3 years. At the age of 24, he is already a 9-star cultivator. This cultivation speed is really shocking. It is said that the strength of his battle soul is very terrifying. That is to say, his cultivation limit will be very high in the future. It seems that even the royal family of Danyu country is paying attention to him. He is really a dragon among men. Lu Chun frowned slightly. 9-star cultivator? 1 realm higher than him. A cultivator already had a spiritual power of 5,000. All his spirit stones added up could only be upgraded to a 5-star or 6-star cultivator. The problem now was that sometimes even if he had money, he couldn't buy a cash extraction scroll. 9-star cultivator, this speed was really fast. Chapter 763. The people in front are still not giving way. You dare to block the path of the son of Lord Yi. Are you tired of living? A 3-star cultivator rode his unicorn to the city gate. I'll give you 10 seconds to get out of my way. Lu Chun frowned. He wasn't the one who wanted to block the path, but this person was shouting at him fiercely. The soldier hurriedly apologized. Sorry, Mr. Hong. We'll make him give way to the son of Lord Yi. You got out of my way. Lu Chun was in a good mood today, but after encountering such a situation, his good mood instantly vanished. Hey, you guys asked me to test, right? Besides, the city gate is so big, I can't block it all. You dare to block the path of the son of Lord Yi? Look at yourself in the mirror. A 1-star cultivator dares to be so arrogant. If you don't get out of my way, don't blame me for crippling you. Mr. Hong glared at Lu Chun. Get out. The other party's attitude was getting worse. Lu Chun was a little annoyed. He had a good temper towards most people, but to be so unreasonable and humiliate him repeatedly, Lu Chen wasn't someone to be trifled with. If you guys talk nicely, I might give way to you. But if you guys are so rude and full of shit, then I'm sorry, I won't give way to you. You dare to speak to me like that? Very well, I'll kill you now. Mr. Hong's eyes were already filled with killing intent. Zhou Qian indeed respected strength. The higher the heaven domain, the more obvious this was. He was just blocking the path, but the stronger side actually wanted to kill him. Lu Chen's eyes instantly turned cold. Kill me? Sure, try me if you can. Who cares about the son of Lord Yi? Wait here obediently. When I enter, you guys can move. Otherwise, I'll break your legs. Most people who saw the son of Lord Yi would be scared to the side. If they were scolded again, they would be scared to death. However, this stranger stood in the middle of the city gate and looked at the 100-man line indifferently. There was no fear on his face. Suddenly, Lu Chun's performance attracted a large number of people's attention. What's going on? You dare to challenge the son of Lord Yi? That kid must be tired of living. Look at his rank, a 1-star wild cultivator? Is he still joining a sect? No wonder you're so arrogant. He's still too young and impetuous. At this time, anyone with a brain would know that he shouldn't be impulsive. He should have just stepped aside. Why did he have to throw his life away? You sure talk big. Who in the entire Eastern Peak Nation would dare to stop the Yi clan's team? On top of the city wall, a group of people were watching the situation at the city gate from afar. The leader was a middle-aged man with a stocky build. He was Wu Bang City's city lord, 5-star Grand Cultivator Xianzhen. Although Wu Bangchen was located in the Holy Mountain region, it was not under the jurisdiction of the Holy Mountain. Only the Eastern Peak Nation could have such a large city. Because of this, Xianzhen's strength was stronger than Yan's son. City Lord, should we kill that wild cultivator? Xianzhen's subordinate asked. Xianzhen waved his hand. No need. That kid is a bit strange. Wild cultivators are rare. If he doesn't have some tricks up his sleeve, he shouldn't be able to reach the realm of a cultivator. I heard that the son of Lord Yi has already broken through the realm of a cultivator. If there's a chance, I'll see if that kid is qualified to be my son-in-law. The subordinate said, City Lord, a mere wild cultivator shouldn't be enough for the son of Lord Yi to personally take action. Han Yuan and the others are more than enough to deal with him. Xianzhen smiled. Feng Shi, your news is a bit outdated. Oh, why you say that? A few days ago, I heard that a rare genius appeared in the Holy Mountain's Heavenly Lake Conference. The revival of spiritual energy in the Holy Mountain region might be related to that guy. I heard about it too, but I don't understand. What does this have to do with today's matter? Xianzhen smiled. I've seen the image of that genius. That person is that kid at the city gate. What? Xianzhen smiled. Geniuses have a characteristic, and that is absolute confidence in themselves. Too many successes have made them accustomed to their success. However, if two geniuses of the same level meet, then one of them will definitely taste the taste of failure. This is a very interesting thing. Nameless, that kid definitely has something extraordinary. As for Yi Long, he's known as the #1 genius of the Holy Mountain. Then, when these two geniuses meet, who will continue to be a genius and who will fall? Feng Shi looked at the city lord's back. The city lord was famous for his martial prowess. He was so shocked that he was infatuated. His strength was unfathomable. The two geniuses meeting at the city gate naturally aroused his interest. Nameless versus Yi Long. This conflict might not lose to the martial arts competition that was about to begin. While speaking, a fragrance came from behind. Xianzhen turned his head slightly. On his determined face, Lu Chun had a gentle smile. Lan you're here? The person who came was Xianzhen's daughter, Xianlan. Father, isn't there a good show to watch? Yes, I'm here to watch. I actually hope that the two of them will have a chance to fight. Xianlan stood beside her father. Her long hair fluttered in the wind. She gently parted her hair and looked at the scene below. He's really a 1-star wild cultivator. Father, this kind of person can make Yi Long fight? You're thinking too much. Only his daughter would dare to speak to Xianzhen like this. Silly girl, That kid isn't as simple as he looks. He's nameless. Nameless? The nameless from the Heavenly Lake Conference? Xian Lan frowned. She had already heard of Nameless' performance in the Heavenly Lake Conference. Elemental insulator, but his combat ability is abnormally terrifying. This is their evaluation of him, Xianjun said. At their level, their cultivation level is far from the battle soul strength. Thus, as long as they use soul-body fusion, their cultivation level isn't that important. That way, they will have a fight. Xianlan didn't doubt this point. Indeed, it's an interesting competition. SSS, Father, don't tell me that the conflict below was deliberately arranged by you. Xianjun smiled. Ha ha. Actually, I wanted to help them. But who knew that these two arrogant people would have a conflict without my help the moment they met? Of course, this is for the best. We could just watch the tigers fight from the other side of the river. At this moment, Lu Chun stood alone in front of the city gate. A group of carriages stopped in front of him. Someone had already reported the situation to the person in the carriage. A faint voice came from within the carriage. Do you still need to ask for my permission? Kill him. The voice of the person in the carriage wasn't loud, and his emotions were calm. However, the surrounding people heard it clearly. The son of Lord Yi wanted to kill that young man. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Indeed, a human's life was like grass. For such a small matter, he wanted to kill him as if he was killing an animal. When Hong Yuan received the order, he had already dismounted from his horse. As he walked, he pulled out a silver spear. Kid, I'm sorry. It's too late for you to regret it now. Since the young master has spoken, it means that you're already a dead man. Lu Chun snorted. What did the previous one say? The grass on the grave is already 3 meters tall. Chapter 764. The two of them were ready to fight at any moment. Hong Yuan narrowed his eyes. That guy hadn't used soul-body unification yet. Kid, you're still not using soul-body unification? Very well. Then I'll make sure you can't use it until you die. Soul-body unification. Hong Yuan had already activated his skill, and his attributes instantly soared. Rainbow pierces the sun. Hong Yuan had already turned into a stream of light, shooting toward Lu Chun. He was indeed a melee fighter. Lu Chun narrowed his eyes slightly. In one situation, Lu Chun didn't have to enter soul-body unification, and that was when he had the chance to get close. He was confident that Hong Yuan wouldn't have the chance to wake up if he used stun. He didn't just need to deal with Hong Yuan now. There might be many hidden talents in the Yi family team, so it was safest to hide his true strength until the very end. Lu Chun saw the few figures above the city gate from the corner of his eye. To be able to stand above Wu Bangqing's city gate loft so openly, their identities were obvious. Even if they weren't the city lord, they must be the core figures of Wu Bangqing. When those people saw that they had no intention of stopping them, Lu Chun had no choice but to be extra careful. He wouldn't reveal his true strength until the very last moment. Look, that guy hasn't used soul-body unification yet. Is he crazy? He's just a cultivator with a huge gap in strength with a battle soul. What's he trying to do? He's dead meat. Hong Yuan was already in front of Lu Chun. Lu Chun took a sidestep and quickly shifted his position with the triple door. Triple door. I'm all ears. Using the triple door again, Hong Yuan was directly dragged into it and teleported in front of Lu Chun. You think you're invincible after activating soul-body unification? Lu Chun snorted. Tiger descends the mountain. However, just as Lu Chun's fist was about to land on Hong Yuan, a strong push pushed both of them away at the same time. Lu Chun quickly changed his footsteps and barely managed to stand still. Hong Yuan, who was under the effect of attention and was suddenly pushed away by this force, lost his balance and crashed into the thick city wall. Lu Chun could not help but raise his head to look in the direction of the power. At this moment, an old man, 2 men and 1 woman, 3 young people were slowly walking over from the crowd. Young man, why are you so hot-tempered? Isn't it a little too hasty to fight to the death over such a small matter? Lu Chun was shocked. This old man had destroyed his listen respectfully from 100 meters away. Moreover, he hadn't sensed anything when he had attacked him. What shocked Lu Chun even more was that this old man also didn't use soul-body unification. In other words, this person was definitely an expert. The old man's gaze finally landed on Lu Chen's body. To be able to withstand my purple chi from the east and still maintain your balance, young man. When the purple chi from the east attacked just now, you roughly figured out the direction of my spirit chi. Lu Chen was stunned for a moment. Just now, he had reacted almost instinctively. But now that he thought about it carefully, he had indeed reacted according to the direction of the other party's spirit chi. It seems you already have some understanding of spiritual aura. The old man faintly smiled at Lu Chen before his gaze once again fell on the badge on his chest. 1-star wild cultivator? You still haven't entered a school? Lu Chen nodded and said, I'm used to being free. A sturdy young man behind the old man suddenly said, brother, we really regret not meeting earlier. If I had met you earlier, I wouldn't have had to enter this rotten old man's tutelage and be controlled by him every day. Hey, master, can I withdraw from the school now? I want to wander the world with this brother and cultivate freely. Lu Chen was momentarily stunned. What was this old man's identity? His disciple also had some personality. Before Lu Chen could react, several silhouettes had already appeared on top of the city wall in a flash. The middle-aged man in the lead laughed and said, "Ha ha, Luo Chen, you don't know how many people want to enter your Xianqing school, let alone become your master's inner disciple. You're clearly taking advantage of others, yet you're still pretending to be obedient. Who knows how envious other people would be if they heard this?" After he finished speaking, the man walked in front of the old man and politely cupped his fists. Great cultivator Bo Fan unexpectedly also brought a disciple here. I, Xianzhen, am truly overwhelmed by your favor. The old man smiled. City Lord is too modest. Who doesn't know City Lord's daughter, Xianlan, has boundless potential? Marrying Xianlan would be like ascending to heaven in a single bound. The curtain of the carriage, which had been motionless until now, was lifted and an extraordinarily handsome young man walked out. In a flash, the man appeared in front of everyone. Yilong greets City Lord Xianzhen, Miss Xianlan, Senior Bo, Senior Marshal Brother Luo Chen, Senior Marshal Brother Luo Kong, Junior Marshal Sister Luo Shui. Yilong feels extremely guilty for disturbing the seniors. Bo Fan looked at Yilong. 1-star great cultivator? Yilong, you broke through again. TSK, 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 you're indeed the #1 genius of the Holy Mountain. Senior Bo, you flatter me. You're really overpraising me. In front of Senior Marshal Brothers and Junior Marshal Sister Luo Shui, the title of the #1 genius of the Holy Mountain is really not worth mentioning. Lu Chen frowned. Was this the world of the strong? He seemed to have suddenly become redundant. The only problem was that they were all old acquaintances and were chatting enthusiastically. Should he still fight or not? Speaking of which, it turned out that Xianzhen was the city lord of Wu Bang City, and the girl behind him was the main character of this time's joust for marriage. She was indeed stunning and didn't lose out to Yan Ling marrying such a beautiful wife and having a powerful and influential father-in-law. It was no wonder that experts from all over the world would come over. While these city lords, seniors, and #1 geniuses were chatting enthusiastically, a girl curiously walked in front of Lu Chen. This woman was the junior marshal sister Luo Shui mentioned by Yilong. She also seemed to be very strong. "You're nameless?" she asked straightforwardly. "Yes." "Why did the spirit chi in the heavenly lake suddenly increase? What did you see at the bottom of the heavenly lake?" "Master said that the 5th heaven might change." "Is that true?" This woman was really direct. Furthermore, she asked several questions in a row. Unfortunately, Lu Chen had an innate immunity to beautiful women. Even if Luo Shui was a beauty, there was no need for him to tell her everything since she wasn't familiar with him. "How would I know?" Luo Shui thought for a moment and nodded. "That's true. After all, you're just a small cultivator. It's good enough that you're still alive. Sigh. I've seen the projection stone of your performance in the day-chasing competition. Other than being a little wretched, your performance was not bad." Lu Chen was speechless. What did she mean by other than being a little wretched? Speaking of which, He hadn't been serious at all during the day-chasing competition. My master seems to have a good opinion of you. Are you also here for the joust for marriage? Another question came. Furthermore, it was completely unrelated to the previous condition. This woman's thoughts were rather jumpy. Lu Chun couldn't be bothered to talk to her anymore. He coughed dryly and attracted the attention of the group of big shots. I say, are you going to fight or not? Yilong's gaze swept across Lu Chun. The expression on his face was completely different from before. Since Senior Bu has spoken, I'll make an exception and let you off today. However, since you're here for the joust for marriage, you'd better pray that you don't meet me on the stage. Lu Chun snorted coldly. Sorry, I'm not interested in the joust for marriage. Xianzhen suddenly turned around and looked at Lu Chun. The battle that he had been looking forward to didn't happen. It was a pity, but there was still a way to salvage the situation. Nameless, if I'm not wrong, you should be here to buy cash withdrawal tickets. However, I'm sorry to tell you that there are no cash withdrawal tickets in the city. However, you should have seen that those who can participate in the joust for marriage are all top-notch geniuses. If you want cash withdrawal tickets, I'll give you a suggestion. That is to participate in the joust for marriage. If you win, you'll get 10,000 cash withdrawal tickets. Lu Chun frowned slightly. This city lord was a little interesting. Chapter 765. Winning a game for 10,000 yuan in cash coupons. This condition was very attractive to Lu Chun. If he added thinking points at the same time, 10,000 points would be enough to raise his cultivation level by 1 level. City Lord Xian, are you sure you have enough cash coupons? Lu Chun smiled, implying that he could make Xianzhen go bankrupt. I don't have much, but you can win at least 3 matches. I will arrange the matches. 3 matches would be 30,000. This kind of bet could be said to be a huge gamble. Xianzhen's additional request was not excessive. It would prevent Lu Chun from going up to deal with a few people who wanted to join in the fun. Lu Chun nodded. Sure, but I have a condition. Oh, what condition? I won't marry your daughter, Lu Chun said. Xianlan stared at Lu Chun. Was she that bad? Did this guy deliberately add such a clause? Hey, Nameless, what do you mean? You make it sound like I'm forcing you to marry me. Look at yourself. You're an elemental insulator. Do you think I'll like you? Lu Chun smiled. It's a martial arts competition for a spouse. Can't I marry you if I win? Of course not, Xianlan said angrily. What kind of martial art competition is that? Here, the martial arts competition is just to show off your strength. As for whether you can pass me in the end, that's another story. Lu Chun blinked. So this was the rule. It seemed to be different from the martial arts competition for a spouse that he knew. Perhaps the customs were different. After all, he didn't know which planet she was from. If that was the case, Lu Chun didn't have to worry. Xianlan didn't seem to have any feelings for him. After all, his looks were average, and the news of him being an elemental insulator seemed to have spread. All right, that's for the best. City Lord Xian, can I enter the city now? Xianzhen took out an invitation and handed it to Lu Chun. Yes, this is the invitation for the martial arts competition for a spouse. It will start in 5 days. Come find me when the time comes. I'll assign you an opponent. Lu Chun took the invitation and turned to enter Wu Bangqing. Looking at Lu Chun's retreating figure, Xianlan pouted. Yanling told me that this guy is especially annoying, and it's true. How hateful. How dare you embarrass me in front of so many people? Nameless, it's impossible for me to like you. Don't flatter yourself. Lu Chun heard the woman behind him yelling at him. It seemed like he was being despised again, but it didn't matter. He didn't care. Although it was a little embarrassing for her to say that he wouldn't marry Xianlan in front of everyone, it was better to make things clear from the beginning. Xianzhen seemed to like setting traps for him. This kind of thing had to be made clear. Ah, that's good. I can enter the city without fighting. Lu Chun finally entered the city. Wu Bang's city occupied a vast area. In fact, there were also some commoners in the city. Lu Chun noticed that they were wearing special badges on their chests. They were probably people who had lived here for a long time. In addition, many of the immortal cultivators who came and went were of very high levels. They were all cultivators. Although this place was almost out of the Holy Mountain area, it was still part of the Holy Mountain area. The cultivators in the Holy Mountain area were almost all core disciples of sections. Other than the Heavenly Grand Meeting, it was rare to see one. However, in Wu Bang City, cultivators could be seen everywhere. Wu Bangqing's strength can't be underestimated. No, it should be the strength of the Dongyu country. The Wu country belonged to the Dongyu country. It could be seen that in the fifth heaven, the strongest was not a sect, but a country. Once he entered Wu Bangcheng, Lu Chan went straight to the trading area. There were many immortal shops here. The quality of the equipment sold here couldn't be lower than the immortal level. Moreover, there was almost none of the equipment that could be obtained in the fourth heaven. All the equipment was made by advanced blacksmiths and tailors. Of course, the price was also very good. A piece of equipment could only be bought with 6 digits of spirit stones. Lu Chun wanted to buy some new equipment for the limitless sword to devour. However, considering the current stage, he had to prioritize improving his own strength, so he didn't buy anything for the time being. Louis found a few immortal pill formulas in the medicine shop. The formulas must be bought. It was necessary to spend the money. Boss! Xiaomin hurriedly ran to Lu Chun. We saw a strange thing in a medicine shop. Little green sister doesn't know if she wants to buy it. Lu Chun said strangely, if you don't have the herbs or formulas, then buy it. These things can't be saved. No, it's a cash withdrawal item, Xiaomin said. Cash withdrawal item? Yes, it's a cash withdrawal item for immortal pills. It can only be used once. It can be used to withdraw 1 immortal pill. The price is 100,000 spirit stones. 1 immortal pill could increase one's spiritual energy by 1,000 points. According to Lu Chen's previous purchase price, it would cost 136,000 spirit stones. However, if he used an immortal pill withdrawal item, it would only cost 100,000 spirit stones. Lu Chen thought about it. This seemed to be a loophole. Then, Lu Chen hurriedly followed Xiao Min to the shop. After a battle of wits and bargaining, Lu Chen bought the 4 immortal pill withdrawal items for 300,000 spirit stones. Sigh, 75% off. I really didn't earn much. The shop owner shook his head, as if he wasn't satisfied with the final price. Boss, I also need to pay for making immortal pills. It's reasonable that the cash withdrawal item is much cheaper than directly absorbing spiritual energy. You can't say that, young man. You're just lucky to be able to buy these discounted cash withdrawal items in a small place. You'll know in the future that the bigger the place, the richer the people. When that time comes, the cash withdrawal items will be in short supply, which shop will still sell them at a discount. 200 spirit stones per item is basically a fixed price. It will only be more expensive and not cheaper. My immortal pills for 100,000 spirit stones are already cheap enough. Lu Chen frowned. If that was the case, the cost of buying cash withdrawal items would increase in the future. After coming to Wu Bangsheng, Lu Chen also realized that the few million spirit stones he had didn't seem to be very rich. Boss, you said that the stronger one is, the richer one is. Then how do they get their spirit stones? What's the fastest way to earn money? The fastest way to earn money. The shop owner laughed. Of course, it's through mining. Speaking of which, there was news a while ago that a spirit stone mine that the Heavenly Fiend clan was in charge of mining was massacred. Didn't you hear? They looted the mine in just one day with tens of millions of spirit stones. Looted a spirit stone mine? Lu Chun didn't have much to do. There were no other customers in the shop besides them, so he chatted with the shop owner. You really don't know? I just happened to have a projected image from a shadow stone. Let me show you. The shop owner took out a small black stone. After injecting his spirit chi, the stone projected a 3D image. Look at how tragically these people died. Only their skins are left. Their bodies have been sucked dry. Not even their bones are left. Lu Chen looked at the image. A large number of Heavenly Fiend skins were piled up at the entrance of the mine. Moreover, there were people constantly pushing out carts of human skins from the mine. This scene was really a little horrifying. Who did this? How could their methods be so cruel? Even if they wanted to rob a spirit stone mine, they wouldn't have to kill all these people so cruelly. I don't think it's a human. The shop owner narrowed his eyes and said, as far as I know, there shouldn't be such a terrifying cultivation technique. It could be some kind of powerful fiend beast. But why would a fiend beast want a spirit stone mine? They don't need spirit stones to buy things. The speaker didn't mean it, but the listener took it seriously. Hearing the word fiend beast, Lu Chun couldn't help but tremble. Chapter 766. Could it be the supreme demon beast? After coming out of the medicine store, Lu Chun was a little out of it. Boss, the thing that attacked the mine, could it be? Lu Yi said. Lu Chun nodded. That's possible. The thing does have the ability to swallow. Back at the bottom of the lake, it swallowed the supreme demon beast's bones until nothing was left. If that's the case, then its growth rate must be very fast. Xiao Min said worriedly. Spirit stones contained large amounts of spiritual energy. The thing actually swallowed the spirit stone mine directly. Its growth rate was unimaginable. The fifth heaven was about to be reactivated, but at the same time, there was a huge crisis that was rapidly growing. Boss, don't worry too much. After this incident, I believe that the various powers will be on guard. They can at least limit its growth rate. Lu Chen nodded. There are many fifth heaven experts. Perhaps they could really stop it. And don't think about it. It's useless even if I think about it. I can't find it at all. Lu Chen shook his head. It was better to focus on himself. Boss, here are 4 immortal spiritual pills. Lu Yi handed 4 purple pills to Lu Chun. Lu Chun thought for a moment and said, leave this for Lu Yi. If I use it, it will only increase my attributes. It won't cause any qualitative changes. I heard that there are teleportation arrays in bigger cities. I haven't been back for a long time. When the matter here is settled, I'll go back home first. These few days, Lu Chun had been staying in an inn in the city. When he was free, he would buy some resources for future use. At the same time, he would also go to the market to see if he could find any cash withdrawal coupons. In these few days, there were many experts entering Wu Bang City. There were even people from other regions who came from far away to participate in the marriage contest. The status and prestige of city lord in Dongyu country was not something that the Heavenly Lake could compare to. Of course, now that the spiritual energy in Heavenly Lake had recovered, perhaps many years later, the Heavenly Lake would change. What surprised Lu Chun was that Yin Ling and Huang Xian had also come. He only found out when he saw Yin Ling and Xian Lan shopping on the street. Yin Sun was still in charge of the reconstruction of the Heavenly Lake, but since Xian Jun had personally invited them, they had to send someone over. The best candidates were naturally Huang Xian and Yin Ling. Huang Xian didn't participate in the spouse finding martial competition. His potential wasn't bad, but his strength was still lacking when compared to the other powerhouses. Yin Ling and Xian Lan seemed to have a good relationship. The two of them held hands as they picked out clothes together. Sai Linger I saw nameless. It was exactly as you said. I hate him as much as I can. Xian Lan was still angry when she mentioned that person. Linger frowned slightly. He's also here to find a spouse? My father said that he wanted to see his strength and made an agreement with him that if he won, he would be rewarded with 10,000 cash notes. In the end, that guy actually added a condition, saying that he would never marry me. What a narcissist. I don't like him. Linger's heart was very complicated. It seemed that this guy was not only uninterested in her. What kind of opponent will your father arrange for him? There are so many famous powerhouses coming for you this time. He'll definitely arrange the strongest for him. I'm so angry. Don't worry, Linger. I'll take revenge for us sisters together. I'll beat him half to death and let him know how powerful we are. Yin Ling imagined Nameless being beaten black and blue. She didn't know why, but she couldn't bear it. And that there's no need to do that. Just teach him a lesson. His mouth is too cheap. No, he made me look bad in front of so many people. I'll remember him for the rest of my life. You're too soft-hearted. This time, you'll be in charge of watching the show. Wu Bang City was really a gathering of big shots. Those active, inactive, and even those rarely seen super powerhouses were all gathered together. Even if they didn't participate personally, they would still come to join in the fun. If the Heavenly Lake Grand Meeting was to choose the newcomers with outstanding potential, Then the Wu Bang City Lord's Daughters Spouse Finding Martial Competition was a gathering of famous powerhouses from the Sacred Mountain and the surrounding areas. 5 days later, the martial competition was about to begin. Lu Chun came out of the inn and headed to the competition venue. When a general saw Nameless, he personally came to welcome him. "Mr. Nameless, the city lord has ordered me to entertain Mr. Nameless for the next few days." Lu Chun followed that person to the spectator area. Some important guests sat with Xianzhen in the spectator area on the north side of the arena. Lu Chun sat in the first row of the spectator area on the east side. From afar, Lu Chun saw Xianzhen looking at him and nodding slightly to greet him. "Mr. Nameless, the Spouse Finding Martial Competition will be held for 5 days. You probably won't go on stage for the first few days." Lu Chun nodded. Since he was bored, he might as well watch the competition. Soon, someone went on stage. Both of them were rather famous figures, and both of them were 6-star cultivators. As soon as the battle started, the two of them didn't talk nonsense and directly activated their soul-body fusion and domain skills. The battle was extremely fierce. Both of them exchanged blows. It was worth mentioning that both of them were third transition martial artists, named Einherjar. This was the first time Lu Chun heard of a third transition martial artist. Einherjar seemed to be the last transition for a close combat martial artist. In this battle, both of them were very close in strength and were of the same profession. After an hour of soul-body fusion, there was no clear winner. Then, both of them fought with their original bodies at the same time. The battle situation was different at this time. After a fierce battle, the young man of the Dongting lineage won the first match with his stronger ability to resist attacks. Xian Ting's physique increased a lot. They are both 6-star cultivators, but his physique is at least 1/3 taller than Qing Qi's. Yes, so even if they are of the same level, the gap in strength will be huge. However, their war souls are very close in strength. There is almost no clear winner. A middle-aged man shook his head. Xian Ting's war soul is also stronger, but Qing Qi's battle experience is richer. He used a lot of delaying tactics, but who knew that when the war soul left, Xian Ting's original body strength was still higher than Qing Qi's. The first match of the marriage contest had a good start. The following matches began to become more and more exciting. After 36 matches, 18 of them entered the second round. On the second day, as there was not enough time to accumulate the war soul's recovery time, the contestant's soul-body fusion could only last for 10 minutes in today's battle. Lu Chun realized that fighting with one's original body had become a method that he had to master. On this day, 9 of them were determined. On the third day, only 5 were left. On the fourth day, a new batch of contestants joined the competition, and the number of contestants increased to 16. Those who are participating now are the real experts. Yi Long, the Luo brothers, Xing Chun. Wow, they're all famous super experts. I can finally see the battle between them. To be fair, their war souls can only be used for 10 minutes at most. On the fifth day, the top 8 were determined. At this moment, the officer beside Lu Chun said, "Mr. Nameless, the city lord has ordered you to start the competition tomorrow. Your opponents are Luo Chun, Yi Long, and Duo Colored Moon. Of course, if you lose midway, you will lose the opportunity to continue participating in the marriage contest, and all your rewards will be taken back." Lu Chun smiled and nodded. Xianzhen was really ruthless. He wanted him to challenge the 3 strongest people directly. "Tell your city lord that I want to raise the stakes." Lu Chun suddenly said, "Raise the stakes?" "Yes, let the 3 of them fight together. If I win, I will get 90,000 in cash." Chapter 767. After staying in Wu Bangqing for a few days, Lu Chun had already heard of Xianzhen's martial arts fanatic character. He grasped Xianzhen's weakness and proposed an irresistible condition. Triple the asking price. That would be 90,000 cash withdrawal tickets, which was definitely a huge sum of money. But on the other hand, if Lu Chun failed, he wouldn't get a single cent. The risk and reward would increase exponentially. Not long after, The officer in charge of receiving Lu Chen returned. The city lord said your asking price is too high. He doesn't have so many cash withdrawal tickets in his hands. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Even the city lord of Wu Bangsheng couldn't take out so many cash withdrawal tickets in one go. How much does he have? 47,000, deal? Lu Chen said without hesitation. This time, even the other party was stunned. Nameless asking price was too casual. It was equivalent to a 50% discount, but he actually agreed without hesitation. In fact, for Lu Chen, it was a lot anyway, so a little bit more was a little bit more. The news that Nameless was going to challenge 3 experts at the same time suddenly exploded in the Northern Spectator stands. Father, what did you say? Nameless is going to challenge 3 people at the same time? He's crazy. Xianlan almost shouted. I don't know if he's crazy or not. I only know that my cash withdrawal tickets seem to be safe. Xianjun smiled slightly. Bo Fan frowned slightly. When Nameless met that young man for the first time, Hong Yuan's soul and body had already fused, but he was still calm. I thought he was a calm child, but I didn't expect him to be so careless. 1 against 3? What kind of people does he think he can survive until now? Why does he think he's stronger than the others? Luo Shui said. He's really too arrogant. Big senior brother and second senior brother are also arrogant, but they know their limits. This guy is many times more arrogant than them. I think he'll be beaten up badly in a while. Xianjin smiled. Maybe he thinks he won't die anyway, so he's so fearless. But I think some people can't stand being looked down upon like this. Moreover, in a 3 against 1 situation, anything can happen. He might have to pay a painful price for his arrogance. Huang Xian looked at his junior sister beside him. Xianlan and the others were chatting excitedly, but his junior sister didn't speak at all. Linger, don't you hate Nameless the most? Why do I see that you don't seem very happy? Huang Xian asked. Yin Ling was stunned for a moment and glanced at her senior brother. Although he's annoying, he saved us and helped the Holy Mountain. Grandfather admires him very much. I don't want to see him die in the arena. Huang Xian nodded. Indeed, that guy's annoying, but I don't want him to die. There is only 1 match left for today's competition. Nameless against the 3 most outstanding youths of the Sacred Mountain, Yilong, Luo Chun, and Ying. When they learned that the city lord had arranged for the 3 of them to fight Nameless at the same time, with their personalities, they were already furious. If City Lord Xianjun hadn't personally informed them this time, they probably would have exploded before the competition. 3 nephews. Actually, this doesn't affect you at all. As long as you defeat him, not only will you have 1 less opponent, it won't affect your reputation. Xianjun said. He looked down on you, so you should return the favor, right? Do you want me to refuse his request? Wouldn't that be cowardice before the battle? The 3 of them had to give Xianjun face, so they could only agree to this match. After getting on the stage, the 3 of them stared at the young man who was slowly walking up the stage. This time, Lu Chun changed into his wild blood sword god outfit, a red robe that fluttered fiercely in the wind. Nameless, you're really arrogant. You actually dare to challenge the 3 of us at the same time. Ying was an assassin of a night. He wore a black outfit, and his face was covered with a veil, leaving only a pair of angry eyes. Nameless, my master used to think that you were mature, but I didn't expect you to be such an arrogant guy. Falling Dust said indifferently. At that time, the son of Lord Yi had a conflict with you. Now, it seems that I should have stood on his side. Yi Long sneered. Nameless, do you think I'll let you off unscathed? Sorry, but this time we'll settle our old and new debts together. Lu Chun looked at the 3 of them indifferently. The 3 of you, it's not that I look down on the 3 of you, but my time is tight. From today onwards, I must seize every second. This time, I won't let go of the chance to earn more cash coupons. If Xiao Min and Lil Green were free now, they would have been shocked. It turned out that Boss hadn't completely let go of the matter of Magical Bee Supreme. In the past, although Lu Chen's growth was rapid, he was still relatively leisurely. This sudden increase in the stakes was actually not in line with Lu Chen's usual style. There was only one reason. After seeing the Shadow Stone of the Mine incident, Boss wanted to become stronger faster. That guy's growth speed was too terrifying. Lu Chun didn't have much time left. In this emergency situation, Lu Chun's strategy had changed. This was why he decided to fight 3 genius powerhouses alone in order to earn more cash coupons. However, there was one thing that didn't change. Lu Chun wouldn't tell Little Green and Xiao Min about this dangerous matter in advance. He just pretended as if nothing had happened. You really don't have much time left because soon you'll die at our hands. Yilong sneered. Falling dust, shadow, according to my deduction. The reason why he thinks that the 3 of us aren't his match is most likely because he doesn't think we'll truly join forces. That's right. Perhaps it's due to face, or perhaps there's a competitive relationship between us, which could cause us to fight separately, Shadow said. Falling dust smiled faintly. Nameless, if that's really what you think, then I'm sorry, but you'll be disappointed. Team battles are an essential part of our cultivation. The power of the 3 of us joining forces is definitely not what you think it is. Lu Chun smiled faintly. As you wish. This sentence almost caused the 3 people who were bursting with confidence to collapse. After talking for so long, he said, as you wish. You can do whatever you want. This guy is too arrogant. Xianlan already hated Lu Chun to the extreme. Xianjun smiled faintly. He's definitely arrogant. Lan, have you heard of the Azure Dragon sect being destroyed? I've heard of it. If I'm not wrong, the guy who destroyed the Azure Dragon sect, solipsistic, is this Nameless. What? Not only Xianlan, but even Yin Ling and Huang Xian were shocked. Xianjin said, I wouldn't think so highly of a person for no reason. Recently, for some reason, there hasn't been any newcomers from the 4th heaven to the 5th heaven. It's not just in the vicinity of the Sacred Mountain. I've asked the city lords of a few other cities, and it seems that there hasn't been any newcomers in the entire 5th heaven. The only newcomer is probably this solipsistic. I'm really curious. What's so special about him? Xianjun narrowed his eyes slightly. Breaking into the 4th heaven alone, destroying the Azure Dragon sect, hiding from being the champion of the Heavenly Lake Conference, and causing the spiritual chi to recover. This person has already aroused my interest. Chapter 768. As the city lord of Wu Bang City, Xianjun was well informed. No wonder he paid special attention to Lu Chun. He knew much more than the others. At this moment, everyone's gaze fell on the arena. 3 of them were here for Xianlan, while their opponents were here for the instant extraction scroll. 2 of them were 1-star cultivators, and 1 was a 9-star cultivator. Lu Chun was a 1-star cultivator. Nameless, are you planning to use the advantage of soul-body fusion? Shadow suddenly said. Lu Chun's expression did not change. He said something that shocked everyone. He seemed to be talking to himself. If I use soul-body fusion, I won't be able to improve in this battle. As long as I use soul-body fusion, no matter if I accumulate 10 minutes or an hour, my time will be reset to 0. If I meet that guy now, I won't have any chance of winning. Then, Lu Chun raised his head and said calmly, Don't worry. From today onwards, my soul-body fusion will only be prepared for 1 person, and all of you are not my target. As soon as he said this, everyone's eyes widened. What? He doesn't use soul-body fusion. He's crazy. A 1-star cultivator dares not to use soul-body fusion? What a joke. Does he know the difference in strength between the battle soul and the main body? He's courting death. Yin Ling was shocked beyond words. In her heart, she always felt that Lu Chun's strength was not much higher than hers. He used despicable means in the sun-chasing competition. He had a magic treasure like the clear water pearl in the Heavenly Lake. At such a close distance, his void-shattering technique had missed. Maybe he was just a little lucky, but his true strength had not reached a height that she could not reach. But at this moment, that somewhat sloppy man seemed especially serious this time. When he put away his smile, there was actually a strong sense of oppression. Was that red robe his real fashion? The eye-catching red was as arrogant as his real ID. Solipsistic. Was this his true appearance? It was just like that night when she saw him chatting with the commoners. At this moment, Yinling felt as if she had never really known this guy. 1 against 3? Why aren't you using soul body as one? Is there something wrong with my ears? Xianlan furrowed her brows. Any normal person would not make such a decision. Nameless had said so there were only two possible outcomes. Either he was a lunatic who was seeking his own death, or he was a superpower house. A person who didn't want to marry her even after winning. What kind of person was he? Nameless, you really are the most arrogant person I've ever seen. Falling Dust was thoroughly enraged. Today, I will definitely kill you. Soul and body as one. Falling Dust, Leaf Dragon, and Shadow simultaneously activated the soul-body fusion state. Lu Chan looked at the three people in front of him indifferently. How difficult would it be to fight that guy in the future? Perhaps only the dead loose immortal would know. Defeating these three people with soul and body as one would not be difficult for him at all. Since Jiu Qian kept emphasizing the combat power of his body, then he would use his body to fight these three people. Perhaps this difficulty was only 1%, or even 1,000th, of the difficulty of the battle with Demon Beast Sovereign. Lu Chun was a little surprised himself. A shadow stone actually made him unable to mind. An indescribable pressure made him involuntarily start to get serious. In the void, a long sword was slowly drawn out. Limitless godly demon sword. Boss, are you sure you want to use your body to fight three people with soul and body as one? The sword spirit rarely spoke. Lu Chen said, why? You don't want to fight? No, I'm just a little excited. Lu Chen's lips curled up slightly. Is that so? That's great. Godly demon symbiosis. In an instant, Lu Chen completely changed his appearance. His black hair turned white instantly. His long hair reached his waist and swayed with the wind. In the blink of an eye, Lu Chen was no longer an average-looking man. His facial features were exquisite, his eyebrows were sharp, and his eyes were bright. He stood tall with a sword in his hand. The red color of the wild blood sword god, combined with his white hair and fair skin, made him look like a red shadow in a snowy field. Of course, the most eye-catching thing was not his white hair and handsome face. Instead, it was the pair of furry ears on his head that melted Xianlan's maiden heart. My mother, what kind of demon is that? Why is he so handsome? Those ears, oh my god, I love them. Yinling was also stunned. Was this guy really that wretched man? He was too handsome. There were countless handsome men among the disciples of the immortal cultivation sect. Yinling originally thought that she was immune to handsome men, but when she saw Lu Chen's appearance, her heart started to pound. That was not a handsome man. That was a beautiful man. It was as if he had walked out of an ink painting, clean and untainted. Especially that pair of ears. They were so adorable that his face was bleeding. That is so handsome. Exclamations could be heard from all around. In the past, Lu Chun would have been proud of himself. It was not easy to fuse with such a handsome appearance, and the effect was quite good. The commotion was even greater than when Bei Shui Gufei had appeared. However, Lu Chun did not care about that now. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to become stronger. Lu Chun swung his sword elegantly. He held the sword with one hand and stabbed it into the ground. Come on. Battle soul possession, devil transformation, dragon blood boiling. 3 reincarnations. Lu Chun spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, he turned into a red shadow and rushed to the opposite side. Ghostly shadows. Doppelganger. In an instant, a large number of Lu Chun appeared in the arena. Nameless, don't think that you can win with these tricks. In front of the battle soul, you are just an ant. Everyone, kill him. Yi Long shouted angrily. 9 Dragon Wall Domain. Endless Night Domain. Shadow also activated his domain. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, thousand dust domain. Lu Chun seemed to have guessed that they were going to activate their domains. After all, this was the opening move of many people. He had already prepared for it. Shatter the void. Break it. If Lu Chen's battle soul had attacked, the 3 domains would have shattered at the same time. However, Lu Chen's physical strength was only 11,000 points. After many boosts, it would not exceed 100,000 points. The attack power of Shatter the Void was greatly reduced. Relying on the restraining effect of Shatter the Void on domain skills, it did not break any of the domains. The attack is too low. Liu Chen changed his tactics. Chaotic element type change. The elixir instantly turned black and became mixed yuan spiritual elixir. At the very least, the domains could not affect Liu Chen's attack. The Endless Night domain turned the surroundings pitch black, and shadow had already disappeared into the darkness. On the other side, Yilong had already rushed in front of Liu Chen with a displacement. How dare you be arrogant in front of me? Today, I'll let you know how powerful I am. Summon 9-body Ghost Chariot. Yilong was a spirit controller. He summoned the remnant soul of a divine beast, Ghost Chariot, with 8 bodies and 8 heads. In the next second, Yilong suddenly disappeared. After fusing with the 9-body dragon god, he grew a 9th body and head. Spirit controller astral form. At the same time, Liu Chen suddenly realized that his third opponent had also disappeared. Falling Dust should not be an assassin. If he remembered correctly, he should be a Golden Light monk. Golden Light Buddha body. Liu Chen frowned. Of these 3 guys, 2 had already activated their profession astral form, and 1 had disappeared into the night. For a moment, only Liu Chen was left in the arena. However, everyone knew that at this moment, Liu Chen was already in a desperate situation. Chapter 769. Yin Ling thought that she would calmly watch Nameless lose or even be seriously injured. However, at this moment, she didn't know why she had never been as nervous as she was now. Nameless opponents had all disappeared. If she was Nameless, how would she deal with such a situation? Without the fusion of soul and body, the 2 opponents had directly activated their profession astral bodies. One of them was a night assassin who was good at assassination. Would they panic before the fight even started? No, she would never use her body to fight against other people's souls. However, Yin Ling couldn't help but put herself into the battle, which made people even more confused. The white-haired man in the field didn't panic. He closed his eyes slightly. Heavenly Eye. In the state of the body, it was much more difficult to use the aura. At present, Liu Chen couldn't directly use the aura to defend against the enemy's attack like before. However, the aura had already provided clues to the opponent's figure. Suddenly, a silver light flashed behind him. Liu Chen moved quickly, and a fish-scale dagger almost brushed past his throat. He avoided the night assassin's sneak attack. How'd he do it? At the same time, Ing also appeared briefly. This was the best time for Liu Chen to make a move. However, a fireball had already smashed towards him from behind, so he couldn't stay for a moment. He moved quickly again to avoid the fireball's attack range. The ghost chariot still turned into a chariot. The 9 dragon heads launched continuous elemental attacks towards Liu Chen. Nameless, taste my power. Unlimited elemental firepower. The attacks were overwhelming. All kinds of elemental balls were shot in succession, roaring towards Liu Chen. Even if the opponent's soul's attributes weren't particularly outstanding, Liu Chen's body couldn't withstand one attack. Moreover, Yilong's strength wasn't weak at all. As long as these shells hit Liu Chen once, he would definitely die. Liu Chen used his body movement, shuttling nimbly between the various elemental shells. In the distance, Huang Xian slightly furrowed his brows. His heavens, I can predict the position of the enemy's attack. But to be able to calmly dodge such a dense barrage of attacks, whether it is in terms of reaction time or mental fortitude, Solipsistic is top-notch. Huang Xian, who did not want to deal with Liu Chen, could not help but admire him when he saw Liu Chen's dodging. However, Xianzhen shook his head slightly. Huang Xian, you're right, but don't forget that Solipsistic has 0 tolerance for error. Any one of my attacks can instantly kill him. Battles have always been cruel. No matter how perfect you are in the process, as long as you lose in the end, you lose. Huang Xian's heart skipped a beat. That's right. Even if the Solipsistic's performance was brilliant, he could not make a single mistake when fighting against a war soul with his main body. Luo Shui stared at the battlefield. I think Yilong is far from using his full strength. Luo Kong nodded. Yilong doesn't need to use his full strength at all. His goal should be to seal off nameless movements. Don't forget, there are still 2 hunters waiting for an opportunity to move. Second senior brother, why hasn't eldest senior brother come out yet? Evening only attacked once before disappearing again. Luo Shui asked. Little Shui, remember, sometimes if you don't make a move, you'll have to make a move. Luo Kong said. Ying's attack was dodged just now. They should have seen that nameless reaction time is outstanding. Now that eldest senior brother is not moving, it will imperceptibly create a huge pressure on nameless. First, he doesn't dare to attack rashly. Second, he has to be vigilant at all times. These 2 points are almost enough to make eldest senior brother and the others invincible. Once nameless shows even the slightest flaw, it will be fatal. A lion and a tiger will use all their strength to catch a rabbit. These 3 are not people with an undeserved reputation. They are the most dangerous hunters. Compared to nameless, their combat experience can only be stronger. I really can't think of how nameless can win. Their master, Bo Fan, frowned slightly. Solipsistic has been using 7 stars chasing the moon, but his movement range is slowly shrinking. Is he trying to use 7 stars chasing the moon to reverse Luo Chun and Ying's position? Xian Zhen shook his head. Using 7 stars chasing the moon to reverse Luo Chen's position is indeed a clever method. If he uses Heaven's Eye, he might be able to roughly determine the enemy's position. But the problem is that the enemy is moving. With Luo Chun and Ying's reaction time, they can even deliberately create an illusion and make nameless miss. In the current situation, it's already very difficult for him to dodge Yilong's attack. Even if he finds Luo Chun and Ying, he won't have time to attack. At this moment, Luo Kong's eyes widened. Nameless seems to have underestimated Ghost Chariot's elemental attack. A ball of ice spirit energy exploded beside Lu Chun. Although Lu Chun had dodged the attack, after the ball of ice exploded, countless icicles exploded around Lu Chun. Ghost Chariot's attack was ever-changing, and there was a mystery hidden in the ball of spirit energy. Nameless, you're finished. You're already dead. Yilong's voice came from one of Ghost Chariot's heads. Facing the countless icicles that were as thin as silver needles, Lu Chun was about to dodge again when purple smoke suddenly appeared around him. Spiritual power disorder. Ying's voice came from the dark. Lu Chun suddenly found that the circulation of his spirit core was blocked. The supply of spirit energy was blocked, and all of his movement skills couldn't be used. The origin spirit core wouldn't be suppressed, but if the supply of spirit energy was limited, Lu Chun still couldn't use skills. Lu Chun's body wasn't invincible, and the spiritual power disorder successfully interfered with Lu Chun's skills. In just an instant, countless icicles pierced toward Lu Chun. Yinling's mind was completely blank. The price she had to pay for putting herself in Lu Chen's shoes was that she had no other choice. Large drops of sweat rolled down her face from her forehead. It's impossible to dodge. Nameless. However, at this moment, there was no trace of panic on his face. Instead, he smiled evilly. Ying, I've been waiting for you for a long time. I know you're hiding nearby. Seeing this opportunity, you can't not make a move. I'm all ears. Lu Chun grabbed the air, and a blurry figure was directly grabbed out of the night by Lu Chun. With one step, Lu Chun had already hidden behind him. He was all ears and forcibly pulled the other party to his side. In fact, this wasn't any attack or movement skill, but at this moment, it just happened to resolve Lu Chen's crisis. Shadow Shield. Facing the ice needles, Ying had no choice but to use the shield. Countless icicles collided with the shadow shield. Although the icicles didn't hurt Ying, they still shattered his shadow shield. This guy, did he deliberately show an opening just now? Huang Xian was stunned for a moment. Since they didn't take the initiative to attack, Lu Chun gave them a reason to attack. And at this moment, Lu Chen's counterattack began. Fierce Tiger descends the mountain. Lu Chen shouted in a low voice. 10 consecutive sword strikes, as fast as lightning, pierced toward Shadow. Although Ying's HP didn't decrease by much, after all, Lu Chen's attributes were too low. But soon, he would understand a truth. Don't let the solipsistic get close. Stun, silence, slow, mana burn, critical hit. All kinds of passive skills were crazily refreshing. Chapter 770. Since level 5 didn't show the numerical damage anymore, he couldn't see the negative status on others. Only the War Soul would show the HP. Shadow's HP wasn't dropping fast, but the crowd was exclaiming. However, the fact that his physical body could actually fight against a fighting soul was already an incredible feat. Impossible. He's just a 1-star cultivator. Even if he has an enhancement skill, his attack shouldn't be able to break through the defense. His strength has increased to more than 100,000. No, look at Shadow's HP. It's dropping at a different rate each time. It feels like it's a critical hit. That's impossible. Unless he's using critical hits, it's impossible to hit Shadow's War Soul. Unfortunately, Lu Chen was using critical hits. It was just that the critical hit multiplier was different. After being caught by Lu Chen, this violent beating caused him to freeze on the spot, unable to move even an inch. It's a passive stun. Bo Fan narrowed his eyes. Attacks with combo, high critical hit rate, burning the opponent's spiritual energy and blocking it. How can this guy have so many passive skills? Xianzhen frowned. If he uses soul body fusion, it'll be a nightmare to get close to him. No matter how much HP you have, you'll be stunned to death. However, this wasn't a one-on-one fight. Seeing Shadow being beaten up by Nameless, the other person had to make a move. You want to kill someone in front of me? Dream on. Buddha's illumination. Falling Dust finally used his skill. A golden light shot from not far away and cleared all the negative status on Shadow. Great bell tolls. Since Falling Dust had made a move, he wouldn't just save Shadow. There was a sudden loud noise in the arena. Lu Chen felt his eardrums were about to explode, and his brain was buzzing. He was in a muddle-headed state. Buddha's purified land. The golden light converged into a human figure, and then divided into 4, standing in 4 directions of Lu Chen. With a flip of his hand, several Buddhist seals instantly enlarged and slapped towards Lu Chen. Saving, controlling, attacking all in one go. The 9-body ghost chariot naturally wouldn't stay idle. A large number of elemental attacks came. As soon as Ying was released from the crowd control, he turned around and slashed at Lu Chen's throat from behind. Hong Zhongming's ear was a long-range control. It was almost impossible to dodge when it was used. However, it also had a weakness, and that was that the control it created was not a strong control. If Hong Zhongming's earpiece was a forceful control, Lu Chen would definitely lose this time. But because it wasn't a forceful control, Lu Chen still had a glimmer of hope. In this critical moment, Lu Chen forcefully focused his mind. Buddha's salvation. Remove control. Ghost shadows descend. 2 of the 3 had already appeared, and Luo Chen's main body was nearby, but he couldn't pinpoint the exact location. Lu Chen flashed to the outside of the encirclement and suddenly thrust his spear. Fierce Tiger descends the mountain. Suppressive fire. 50 spiritual energy space cannons blasted out from the muzzles of the spirit deity cannons at the same time, like fireworks exploding. Shadow wanted to dodge, but the psionic space cannon speed was too fast, and Lu Chen had already predicted it. Shadow was unable to dodge the cannon and was hit directly. Under the soul-body fusion state, Shadow's HP dropped by 1 bar. Lu Chen's spiritual force was 10,000 points, and the psionic cannon's damage was 800 times, so a cannon could deal 8 million damage. The average person's spiritual defense was definitely not comparable to their physical defense. Rough estimation, Lu Chen's cannon could deal more than 7 million damage, even without a critical hit. However, Would Lu Chun not deal a critical hit? Even if he was fighting a boss with extremely high critical hit resistance, he could still deal critical hits continuously. Not to mention Shadow. The answer was obviously impossible. Unless he turned off his werewolf bloodline, otherwise, he would definitely deal a critical hit. Not only a critical hit, but also other passive skills. When Ing was stunned again, he could only watch helplessly as the overwhelming number of spiritual bullets came at him. His eyes twitched. What kind of damage is this? He hasn't even fused with his soul body yet. How can he deal such terrifying damage? When the surrounding spectators saw this scene, they were so shocked that they didn't know what to say. At this time, their minds were full of question marks. Without fusing with his soul body, why was the damage so high? What the hell was his critical hit? Why was the critical hit rate so high, and the critical hit multiplier so high? Psionic cannon? Was he a psionic explosion expert? But the problem was, he clearly had such powerful close combat ability. He had the ability to forcibly dispel crowd control. Did the psionic cannon inherit the close combat special effect? The assassin of the night, who was good at movement, actually couldn't avoid his prediction? Wait, why didn't the three major areas have any effect on him? There were too many questions, but no one could answer them at this time. Even if it was only a double critical hit, the psionic cannon with 7 million damage could deal more than 20 million damage, not to mention 3, 4, or 5 times critical hits. Every time it hit, it would take a lot of HP. 50 psionic cannon shots, in an extremely short period of time, all hit. Although Shadow War Spirit's HP was not displayed, it was definitely not over 100 million. 50 psionic cannon shots were enough to kill him 10 times. Boom, 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 boom. The cannonballs exploded in the arena. The arena that was specially built for experts no longer existed. Victory fell to the ground. At this time, he had forcefully exited the soul-body fusion state. His body was covered in wounds, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. In the blink of an eye, he had already killed one person. Turning around, Lu Chen's gaze fell on the 9 corpses ghost chariot. He raised his hand, and 1080 sword aura shot out. Tiger descends the mountain. Sacred Lotus Sword Heart. This was the first time he used the Sacred Lotus Sword Heart in an actual battle. 1080 sword auras flashed like lightning, forming a dazzling ray of light. The limitless demon sword had already turned into a shadow, and it was completely impossible to distinguish. Seeing this attack, Xianzhen's face was already pale. What skill is this? There is such a terrifying skill in the world. Bofan could not help but take a step forward. He wanted to see this attack clearly. However, the sword auras were too fast, and it was impossible to see with the naked eye. Oh my god. Wait, what is his class? Melee fighter, psionic explosion expert, and now sword kinesis? What is his main class? In fact, many people would dual or multiple classes, but most people would cultivate the branch classes of the same main class. There are also many people who would learn some general skills. But no matter what, everyone would have their own main class. When choosing equipment, they would try to match their main class as much as possible. After all, this would maximize the damage. Lu Chen's problem was that the skills of every class could become his main class. This was because whether it was melee, ranged, or even beast kinesis, he was very strong. The power of the Sacred Lotus Sword Heart could only be described as terrifying. After a Spirit Tamer used the Spirit Tamer astral form and fused with the summoned spirit, it was extremely difficult to kill. Their HP and spirit combined was equivalent to a super strong shield. However, under the frenzied attacks of the Sacred Lotus Sword, the 9 corpses ghost chariot's huge body fell to the ground. The ghost chariot directly turned into light spots and disappeared, leaving only Yilong, who had exited the soul-body fusion state. At this time, Yilong was lying on the ground, and the ground beside him was already dyed red with blood. Whether he was dead or alive, it was certain that he no longer had the ability to fight. With a limitless demon sword in hand, Lu Chun could stand in the ruins. He slowly opened his eyes and looked around indifferently. There is one left. Chapter 771. Firepower Suppression, Sacred Lotus, Sword Heart. Xianlan repeated the name of the skill. He actually used his own body's attack to instantly kill a divine beast spirit. Oh my god, what kind of skill is this? Huangxian suddenly thought of something. I finally know why he could make such extreme predictions during the class skill test. His attacks can't be limited by any class. Timing control in close combat, accurate prediction of long-range firepower, terrifying damage from sword attacks. The most frightening thing is that he can guess the enemy's mentality, allowing him to always be on the initiative. Oh my god, he has no shortcomings, no weaknesses. Yin Ling, who was at the side, was stunned. She still remembered that Solipsistic had admitted that his shattering void was mist. She had never seen Lu Chen's actual combat. Whether it was the skill test or the day-chasing competition, they couldn't be considered real battles. However, after seeing this battle, she suddenly understood. Solipsistic had lied to her. He was now facing a summoned divine beast spirit, 2 class stars, and a deadly assassin with his own body. A single mistake would mean death. However, he was still able to calmly kill 2 people in an instant, even in such an adverse situation. How could such a person miss when he was so close to them during the day chaser competition? No, he was being merciful. Facing Huang Xian and Yin Ling's provocation before the match, he still didn't use too much strength. Solipsistic. Yin Ling's impression of Lu Chun was completely overturned. Xianlan looked at that figure. The current Lu Chun was more than just handsome. That kind of calmness and indifference that looked down on the world and the absolute strength that killed 2 people in an instant was completely different from the sloppy fisherman under the city gate. Oh my god, he's really handsome. Influenced by her father, Xianlan also worshipped the strong. This young man, who was similar in age to her, completely made her heart ripple. When a woman said no, it was possible that she still wanted. Therefore, her gaze couldn't move away from Lu Chun. Her previous bold declaration that she would never like him in her life seemed to have been thrown far to the back of her mind. On the battlefield, her golden shadows overlapped and finally merged into a human figure. Falling Dust looked around. Ying, who was famous for his assassination, and Yi Long, who made people tremble with fear with his 9 bodies ghost chariot, fell in this chaotic world. Until now, he still couldn't understand what had just happened. There was no problem with his strategy and timing. He did not show up at the beginning to distract Nameless' attention. Then, he saved Kage, who was being controlled. At the same time, he controlled Nameless and attacked. The golden light around Falling Dust faded away, and he stood in front of Lu Chun. You purposely got close to Ghost Chariot's Ice Rend Spirit Explosion to make Shadow think it was your mistake. Falling Dust narrowed his eyes slightly. Unexpectedly, Lu Chun shook his head and said, I didn't know about Yi Long's Ice Crack Spirit Explosion in advance, so it can't be said that I deliberately put myself in danger. However, I believe that with your strength, Yi Long's attack definitely has a backup plan. I am indeed constantly vigilant on this point. Luo Chen's eyes narrowed even more. So, you have absolute confidence in your reaction? There are no absolutes in battle. I just do what I can, Lu Chun said. Falling Dust nodded and took a deep breath. That's right. There are no absolutes in battle, but you fought brilliantly. Although the infinite elemental firepower attack was fierce, I thought I could dodge Yi Long's attack. However, not only did you dodge his attack, you also used 7 stars chasing the moon and omniscient eye to detect my and Kage's approximate location. When you discovered that we weren't too far away from you, you revealed a slight flaw. At that time, someone would definitely not be able to resist and help Yi Long complete this attack. That purple smoke was Kage's usual skill when he was hunting. It prevented his prey from escaping the range of the purple smoke. However, I didn't expect that Kage would be caught by you without even showing his face. That misjudgment directly caused you to turn the tables. Hard crowd control requires direct physical contact or skill contact. You should understand this. My Great Bell Chime is a sound wave interference skill. Although it's almost impossible to defend against, the effect is far inferior to hard crowd control. I used that escape to complete the kill. Brilliant, indeed brilliant. Throughout the battle, every step was wrong, but you were flawless. Falling Dust had only taken action once, so he could see the entire battle more clearly than anyone else. After his analysis, the surrounding people thought about it again. Only then did they realize that Lu Chen's fearsomeness far exceeded what they could see with their own eyes. Nameless, there's no need for us to continue this battle, Falling Dust said. Your attack can break the astral body. My Golden Light Buddha body's advantage is not absolute. Although it's not easy for you to find my body, I didn't find your weakness either. However, once the fusion of my soul and body ends, there's only one result. The rest of the time is just a waste of time. I admit defeat in this battle. Lu Chun looked indifferently at Falling Dust. Don't you want to try? After all, I'm the main body. As long as your attack hits me, I'll lose. In fact, there's no clear victor between us. Falling Dust smiled faintly. The most frightening thing about you isn't your attack, but your... Falling Dust pointed to his head. Fighting someone like you is really too tiring. Moreover, you won because you're capable, but I won because it's only right. The battle soul fought the main body and ended up like this. I've already lost face for my master. I can't get any benefits from the city Lord's bet with you. What reason do I have to continue fighting? Although Falling Dust voluntarily gave up, Lu Chun had a whole new level of respect for him. A person who was indifferent to winning or losing was far more mature and steady than someone like Yilong who would easily kill people to get in the way. Moreover, among the three, only Falling Dust was still standing. It wasn't because Lu Chun could only defeat two people, but because Lu Chun hadn't thought of an effective way to force Falling Dust out. Amongst the three of them, Falling Dust's strength was the strongest. Not only was he the strongest, but he was also the smartest. So-called geniuses, some relied on luck, some relied on backing, but Falling Dust seemed to be the true number one genius in the Sacred Mountain region. No one expected that the only one who could still fight, Falling Dust, would take the initiative to give up. Luo Kong shook his head. Why didn't eldest senior brother fight? He might not lose. Their master, Bo Fan, said, not fighting is the wisest choice. Learn from your senior brother. Don't wander around all day. Lone Tyrant, on the other hand, has truly exceeded my expectations. That fellow's strength is somewhat excessive. Xianzhen sighed. In a clash of geniuses, someone will eventually fall. Now it seems that at least in the Sacred Mountain region, no one can shake that guy's position. He's the true number one genius of the Sacred Mountain. No, perhaps it should be said that he's the strongest. AI, I saved up my 47,000 cash withdrawal ticket for a long time. Great, now it's all going to that kid. Chapter 772. Since Falling Dust admitted defeat, it meant that Lu Chun had won the match. The crowd was in an uproar, and everyone was discussing this inconceivable matter. Meanwhile, Lu Chun had already arrived in front of Xianzhen. Looking at Lu Chun at such a close distance, Xianlan's heart seemed to be beating wildly. The current Lu Chun gave her a cold feeling that she couldn't approach him. In front of him, her status as the city lord's daughter didn't seem special at all. On the other hand, Lu Chun glanced at Yin Ling and Huang Xian when he saw them. Lu Chun stood in front of Xianzhen and stretched out his hand. His meaning couldn't be any clearer. Give me money. Xianzhen shook his head. Brother Du Quang, don't tell me you don't have enough cash withdrawal coupons? I've already given you a discount. Lu Chun frowned slightly. My God, he's so handsome even when he's angry. Xianlan completely ignored her embarrassed father and only glanced at Lu Chun, as if looking at him would make her feel better. Hey, you're being love-struck. Yin Ling secretly pushed Xianlan. Xianlan looked at Lu Chun with infatuation. So be it. I just want to touch his ears. If I can marry him, I'll have no regrets in this life. Yin Ling couldn't stand Xianlan anymore. Didn't you tell him not to think too highly of himself? I really wanted to slap myself to death at that time. If he's willing to marry me, I'm willing to do anything. Crazy. Yin Ling shook her head. Xianlan was clearly hopeless. In the end, when Yin Ling turned around and saw that exquisite and flawless fellow, she actually felt a rush of excitement. In other words, the person who hugged her during the sun-chasing competition and the person who kissed her under the heavenly lake was him. Why did she suddenly feel like she had made a profit? Brother Du Quang, don't worry. I'll definitely give you the cash withdrawal coupons. I just have to trouble you to give me 2 days. I have over 30,000 on hand, and I still need to gather them. Xianzhen's face was filled with awkwardness. You saw that you raised the price at the last minute. This doesn't count as me not keeping my word, right? I really only prepared 30,000 yuan. Lu Chan frowned. What Xianzhen said was reasonable. It was true that he had raised the price at the last minute. He didn't deny it. If he had to wait another day, then so be it. Then give me the one in your hand first. Give me the rest tomorrow. Lu Chun also had to be vigilant. He wanted to get the one in Xianzhen's hand first. Lu Chan felt a lot more at ease with the 35,000 cash withdrawal rolls in his hands. Just as Lu Chan was about to leave, Xianlan bravely called out to Lu Chun, "Hey, that John Doe." Lu Chun turned around in surprise. "You have cash withdrawal notes? Why don't you pay for your dad?" "No, you want my martial arts competition?" Xianlan hinted frantically. Lu Chun blinked his eyes and didn't understand what he meant for a long time. Oh. After saying that, Lu Chun turned around and ran away with the 9 void steps. Xianlan looked at the red figure in the distance and almost felt her heart break. Xianzhen hugged his daughter's shoulder. "Silly girl, that guy's just a piece of wood." "But," Xianlan said sadly, "I've never seen such a special person." "No buts. He can't be thinking about you. You should stop thinking about him as soon as possible. He will either go very far or die. If Dad didn't ask him to stay for one more day, I'm afraid he would have left Wu Bangxing." Bo Fan also walked over and smiled at Xianlan. "Lan, there's something you can feel a little relieved about." "Senior Bo Fan, what do you mean?" "With that guy's appearance, character, and strength, there are probably a few girls who have feelings for him, but they probably can't enter his heart." Xianlan thought about it. She really felt a little better after hearing what Senior Bo Fan said. If I can't have it, others can't have it either. That's still acceptable. Yi Long and Ning didn't die. Lu Chun still showed mercy. After all, there wasn't any deep hatred between them. There was no need to kill them. Both of them were receiving treatment at the City Lord's mansion. Bo Fan and his disciples were also staying at the City Lord's mansion. After visiting the two of them and having dinner, Bo Fan asked Falling Dust to tell him what he had learned from the battle with Solipsistic today. "Senior brother, actually, when we met Nameless at the city gate and faced Hong Yuan's attack, he didn't use soul-body fusion. Now, it seems like he has long wanted to try fighting with his war soul." Falling Dust nodded. "At that time, I thought he didn't want to fight for real. Now that I think about it, that guy is simply a monster. Senior brother, if you use that skill, what do you think your chances of winning against him are?" Luo Kong asked. Falling Dust thought about it and said, "I can't say. If I use Buddha Heaven, based on the combat strength he displayed previously, I should be able to win. However, I feel that he still hasn't used his full strength. No one knows how many trump cards he has. If he uses soul-body fusion again, Buddha Heaven might not be able to withstand the fire suppression and the sacred Lotus Sword Heart's attack. No way. Even Buddha Heaven can't withstand it." Falling Dust nodded. "This guy, although he is an elemental insulator, even without the elemental enhancement, his attack is already very terrifying. Without using soul-body fusion, he could instantly kill the 9 bodies Ghost Chariot. Think about it. If he uses soul-body fusion, how terrifying would his attack be?" Luo Kong and Luo Shui couldn't help but fall into deep thought. At this moment, Bo Fan suddenly spoke. "Chen I heard Nameless say that he only prepared soul-body fusion for one person?" "Yes, Master. He did say that." "Actually, I'm also very curious. What kind of person can make him value so much? Moreover, from his tone, it seems like he wants to train his own body strength. In other words, he doesn't seem very confident." Bo Fan frowned. What kind of opponent could make that freak feel unconfident and eager to become stronger? After returning from the spouse contest, Xianjun had mentioned to him that Nameless shouldn't have left the sacred mountain. Then, his opponent should also be in the sacred mountain area. But the question was there such a terrifying person in the sacred mountain area? Not to mention Nameless. Perhaps no one knew who his opponent was. At this moment, someone in the residence came to deliver a message. Mr. Bo, the city lord invites you to the study for a chat. Oh, is there something you need from me so late? Master, can we go? The person lowered his head and reported. Mr. Bo, the city lord only invited you. As for the specifics, I don't know. But the city lord said that you must go. Xianjun's study. Bo Fan pushed the door open and entered. Senior Bo, I'll take you to see someone. Xianjun went straight to the point. Bo Fan didn't move and frowned. City Lord Xian, what's the matter? Why are you being so mysterious? Who do you want to see? If you don't tell me clearly, I won't go. Xianjun smiled and looked at Bo Fan. Senior Bo, are you afraid that I'll harm you? That's not it. You and I have known each other for many years. I also have some friendship with your master. You can say that I watched you grow up. This old man understands your temperament. That's right, but I don't want to follow you around like a headless fly. Hurry up and tell me who you want to see. Xianjun shook his head and looked at Bo Fan. This old man's temper was still so stubborn. Okay, I'll tell you. I'll take you to see the living Buddha. Living Buddha? Hearing this name, Bo Fan was like being electrocuted. He froze on the spot. Why is he here? Is he still in the dungeon? I knew it. If I tell you, you'll definitely have more questions. Why ask me? Can't you ask the living Buddha himself? Let's go. Anyway, something big is going to happen in the fifth heaven. Chapter 773. In the deepest part of the dark dungeon, a thick stone door blocked the end of the dungeon. The sound of water dripping could be heard clearly. Xianjun took out a key and opened the door. The surrounding torches kept the room from being too dark. Bo Fan looked in front of him and saw an old man with 9 iron chains on his body, piercing through his shoulder blades for limbs, neck, and ankles. Every single chain was made of pitch-black metal and emitted a cold aura. 9 mysterious locks. Bo Fan looked at Xianjun in shock, his face full of questions. Xianjun shook his head. It's not me who wants to use the 9 mysterious lock on him. It's living Buddha's request. Bo Fan was even more shocked. At this moment, the old man who was tightly bound by the 9 mysterious lock raised his head slightly. His eyes were already festering and his body was emaciated. He looked like he only had 1 breath left. Senior Living Buddha, Xianjun called out. Living Buddha took a deep breath and said in a weak voice, City Lord, you've brought people here. Senior Living Buddha, do you want me to release you first? Xianjun couldn't bear it. Unexpectedly, this sentence made Living Buddha extremely excited. He shook the chains with force. No, don't release me. Not even for a moment. I've already revealed heaven's secret and will be punished by heaven. Only the 9 mysterious lock can keep me alive. Bo Fan was even more shocked. What did Living Buddha do to deserve such torture? Senior Living Buddha, Senior Bo, was my master's good friend when he was alive. He's also my mentor and friend. He's trustworthy, Xianjun said. And I know, this person's aura is peaceful and he's broad-minded. Living Buddha said weakly, as if every word took a lot of effort. Among his disciples, there's one who can take on a heavy responsibility. Bo Fan was perturbed and asked, Senior Living Buddha, what are you trying to tell me? Who's the disciple you're talking about? What do you want him to do? Living Buddha took a deep breath and looked up at the starry sky outside the window. Calamity starts in Sacred Mountain. Spiritual energy awakens. Calamity descends. All races will be exterminated. Seeking answers from heaven, heaven doesn't speak. Immortals don't speak. There's no solution to this divination. Half a year ago, I observed heaven's secret and found out that calamity starts in Sacred Mountain. As expected, Sacred Mountain's spiritual energy had erupted. This divination is true. Both fans sucked in a cold breath. The living Buddha was one of the top experts of the fifth heaven and should be ranked in the top 10. It was precisely because of this that people like Xianzhen and Bo Fan were in awe of him. The living Buddha was a dual cultivation job, but his job was very interesting. One of the dual cultivation jobs was a monk's fourth job transition job, Heavenly Buddha. This was nothing special. The key was his other profession, the oracle. Oracles originally didn't have any fighting power, but if oracles were a dual profession, then it would be the most terrifying profession. How terrifying was a person who could predict your next move at all times? And the reason why the living Buddha was called the living Buddha was because of his superb prediction ability. It could even be said that his identity as an oracle had surpassed his identity as a heavenly Buddha. However, he had predicted this terrifying prophecy, an inexplicably ominous divination. What was even more frightening was that part of this divination had already started to come true. A month ago, the spirit chi of the holy mountain really recovered. Would the following divination come true? Based on the living Buddha's ability to predict and the results of the previous divination, it was impossible for it to be fake. Perhaps the reason why a famous expert like the living Buddha would appear in a small place like Wu Bangsheng was to prove his divination. For living Buddha to not believe in his own prophecy. How terrifying was this prophecy? This. Bo Fan's hands trembled. Senior living Buddha, is this divination really unsolvable? Unsolvable, living Buddha said. Then aren't we just waiting for death? Oh right, didn't you say that one of my disciples could take on a heavy responsibility? Isn't there a solution? The living Buddha sneered. I used the Nuwa heavenly array to deduce and found that the 81 solutions to this divination were all blocked, which means this divination is unsolvable. However, although this divination is unsolvable, what I can understand is that there are 82 possibilities for this divination's development. And the last possibility, I can't see it clearly no matter what. You can't see it clearly? Yes, I can't see it clearly. The living Buddha said with certainty, but whether this possibility can solve this catastrophe, I don't know. This matter concerns the survival of thousands of races. Although I'm not a saint, I know that it's 100 times more difficult for humans to reach the fifth layer of heaven compared to other races. If the fifth layer of heaven encounters a heavenly tribulation, the human race will have no successor, which could lead to the extinction of the human race. There was no need for the living Buddha to explain this point. They were all from the human race and understood the human race's situation the best. Just like the demon race, they started from the fourth layer of heaven, but the human race climbed up from the first layer of heaven. Many of them had to go through the hard work of their families to reach where they were today. If all races at the fifth layer of heaven were to be wiped out, it would be a fatal blow to the human race. In my current situation, I don't have the strength to investigate it personally. The heavenly mystery lock can still protect me for a while. I want to see the outcome of this divination with my own eyes. Bo Fan, one of your disciples is called Luo Chun. Xianjin recommended this person to me, saying that this person has a calm mind and good strength. He's one of the most promising newcomers in the sacred mountain. He's also a warrior monk, which is also very important. If you agree, I want to take him as my disciple. Bo Fan finally understood that the living Buddha wanted Luo Chun to help him move around outside. Xianjun, this guy, the so-called martial art competition for marriage, was just a cover. His real purpose was to select candidates for this mission. Sure enough, although this guy was a martial arts fanatic, it was impossible for him to become the city lord of Wu Bangsheng without any schemes. Although Luo Chen took the initiative to admit defeat in the battle with Nameless, it was impossible for an expert like Xianjun not to see through the strength and calmness he displayed. Moreover, he and the living Buddha were both warrior monks, so it was convenient for them to pass on their knowledge. Senior living Buddha, if Luo Chen has such an opportunity, I naturally won't object. Besides, this is a matter of great importance. If Luo Chen can help seniors solve the divination, Bo Fan will fully support it. After returning from the dungeon, Bo Fan didn't speak until he returned to Xianjun's room. Senior Bo, you didn't say a word on the way back. You made me very nervous. Xianjun looked at Bo Fan with a smile. You stinking brat. Bo Fan shook his head. This brat recommended Luo Chun without informing him. It was more or less stealing the limelight. But then again, this matter was too serious. His opinion wasn't that important. You really don't speak a word of truth. Xianjun hurriedly apologized. Senior Bo, I didn't dare to say. I've been on tenterhooks all day with such an ancestor home. Senior Living Buddha said that only the three of us know about this. I didn't even tell Xianlan. I'm just waiting for Senior Living Buddha to tell me that I can report to my superiors. Only then will I be free. Bo Fan shook his head. Xianjun's words weren't wrong. To be able to obtain the inheritance of the Living Buddha was a great opportunity for Luo Chun. Thinking of this, Bo Fan didn't pursue the matter any further. Sigh, but I don't understand why you didn't recommend Nameless. He seems to have the skills of a warrior monk. Xianjun shook his head. I suspect that the revival of spiritual qi in the heavenly lake is related to this Nameless. Although I can't confirm whether he is the so-called Heaven's Calamity, his origin is unknown. He doesn't belong to any sect. His actions are both righteous and evil. Why would I recommend him? Bo Fan immediately got angry. Is this a reason? You're only responsible for recommending. It's up to Senior Living Buddha to decide. If you don't tell me the truth, I'm going to flip out. Senior Bo, I'll say it. Xianjun hurriedly said. I really can't hide anything from you. Actually, I definitely recommended him. Senior Living Buddha rejected it at that time. Why? Xianjun said. Living Buddha said that this person must die. He can't bear the heavy responsibility. Chapter 774. The entire marriage contest might have been a game of chess by Xianjun, but it made no difference to Lu Chun. He was still staying in the inn, holding a thick stack of tickets. How should he distribute the 35,000 points of tickets? Originally, Lu Chun planned to add all of them to the 3 dimensions, but when he added 30,000 points to physique, he noticed a notification from the system. The 3 dimensions of the body are restricted by the level of the spirit pill. Only with a powerful spirit pill can you transform a strong enough body. Your current spiritual energy is 10,000 points and physique is 30,000 points. After all, the body was different from the battle soul. It was a real body. It could be inferred that the reason why the body was far stronger than ordinary people was because of the spirit pill. Thinking about it this way, it made sense. It seems that I can't blindly add 3 dimensions. Moreover, some places look at the level of the cultivator. Take Wu Bangsheng, for example. If I didn't have the Immortal Master level, I might not have been able to enter. Thinking of this, Lu Chun decided to adjust the allocation of points. Anyway, the City Lord still owes me 12,000 points. How about this? I'll add 15,000 points to my spiritual energy and 10,000 points to my strength and dexterity. That's 15,000 points. After adding points, Lu Chen's strength and dexterity were both 26,000 points, physique 30,000 points, and spiritual energy 25,000 points. Promoted to 4-star Wild Cultivator. Current ranking is below 5 million. His ranking increased by 2 million, but he still felt like a nameless Jianghu shrimp. What level is a loose immortal? Lu Chun couldn't help but think of this question. He now knew that there were 3 levels: Cultivator, Cultivator, and Great Cultivator. However, he felt that he was still far from immortal. The complete form of Devil Beast Sovereign could perish together with a loose immortal. He was still far from it. Thinking about how Devil Beast Sovereign swallowed a spirit stone mine in a day, this growth speed was simply despairing. That night, when Lu Chun was cultivating, someone suddenly knocked on the door. It was Yin Ling and Huang Xian. Huang Xian was a little unnatural when he saw Lu Chun. After all, he had targeted Lu Chun before. It's you? Come in. Lu Chun didn't take it to heart and warmly welcomed the two of them. Nameless, you. Are you leaving after getting the cash withdrawal coupons? Smoke Spirit asked. Well, I want to go to a bigger city and get more cash coupons, Lu Chun said as he poured tea for the two of them. Huang Xian sneaked a glance at the busy Lu Chun. If this guy wasn't fighting, you wouldn't be able to tell that he was an expert. He was just like an ordinary person. Why don't you join a sect? Huang Xian suddenly asked. That way, you'll have a stable source of cash withdrawal scrolls. Although you won't be able to gamble as much as you'll win in terms of stability. I don't want you to come to the Sacred Mountain. After all, the Sacred Mountain is a small place. But you could go to a big sect or even work in the country. Lu Chun sat down and smiled. I still have a lot of things to do. I can't stay in one place all the time. By the way, how's the reconstruction of the Holy Mountain going? It's pretty good. Because we moved ahead of time, we managed to preserve almost all of our assets. As long as we still have our strength, rebuilding is a small matter. Lu Chun nodded. Oh, that's right. Grandpa said that in the future, we'll give less rent to the surrounding people. After Yin finished speaking, she sneaked a glance at Lu Chun. Lu Chun smiled. Senior Yin is kind-hearted. I didn't help you in vain. Huang Xian sighed. Nameless, he really couldn't figure him out. It was said that he was the one who massacred the Azure Dragon clan. He killed people and plundered the entire Azure Dragon clan's warehouse. He originally thought that he was a cruel person, but in the end, he was so concerned about the commoners. Nameless, we came here this time because Master asked us to give this to you. After saying that, Huang Xian took out a map and handed it to Lu Chun. What is this? Lu Chun took the map. It looked like a map, but it was a bit mottled. Many places couldn't be seen clearly. This map was a bit old. This is the coordinates of the 7 countries. We found it when we were tidying up the warehouse. Yin said, because we've always been living in the Sacred Mountain, we almost never go out. This map has never been used. Grandpa said that you'll definitely go to a farther place. Perhaps you'll need it. Just in time, we'll give it to you during the marriage contest. Lu Chun was pleasantly surprised. Thank you so much. Yin, Huang Xian, you must thank Senior Yin for me. I really need this. Lu Chun was looking for spirit veins. Now, he was like a headless fly. With this map, it would be much better. There were many places on the map that couldn't be seen clearly, but he could roughly see the location and outline. It's good that it's helpful to you. Well, if there's nothing else, we won't disturb your rest. Yin and Huang Xian stood up and prepared to leave. Lu Chun sent them to the door. Huang Xian turned around and looked at Yin. This girl was dilly-dallying. He tactfully said, Linger, I'll wait for you downstairs. Only Yin and Lu Chun were left at the door. Is there anything else? Lu Chun asked curiously. That. Yin head was lowered. After a long silence, she finally opened her mouth. That day chasing competition, didn't you deliberately miss? You deliberately said that you missed because you didn't want me to feel like I owed you anything. Lu Chun thought it was something serious. So it was just this small matter. He smiled and said, You and I have no enmity. Why would I be so heavy-handed? You're so beautiful. It's a pity that I disfigured you. Yinling's face instantly turned red. This guy, when did he become so wretched again? Then, under the heavenly lake that kissed me that I guarantee that I was definitely doing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. I definitely didn't mean to take advantage of you. Lu Chun hurriedly explained, I don't know how to do that. I only know that I was blowing into your mouth, but I didn't know if I should suck the water out of your lungs. Then I sucked on your tongue. Sigh, looks like I have to learn some first aid when I go back. Lu Chun held his forehead. The more he explained, the more confused he became. Yin didn't feel happy. Instead, a trace of disappointment flashed across her eyes. So, it was really just to save her. Looks like she was thinking too much. Then you have to learn some first aid knowledge. Yin raised her head and revealed a bright smile again. If you encounter such a situation again, you won't be treated as a prostitute. Lu Chun shook his head. He really needed to improve. That, will you come back in the future? Yin suddenly asked. Speaking of this, Lu Chun couldn't help but sigh. I don't know. Maybe I won't come back. Yin nodded. Then take care. The 5th heaven is dangerous and you're alone. Take good care of yourself. I'm already used to it. Their conversation came to an end here. Yinling pursed her lips and nodded heavily. She turned around and went downstairs. Luchan also returned to his room. Suddenly, he heard someone shouting outside the window. He ran to the window and opened it. Yinling's figure stood in the night and shouted towards his room, "Nameless, do you know how annoying you are?" What did I do?" Luchan was dumbfounded. "You must come back. I'll wait for you." After saying that, the girl turned around and ran away. Chapter 775. Luchan stayed in Wu Bangsheng for 2 more days, and there was a constant stream of visitors. The next morning, there was already a long line of visitors in front of his door. Luchan really couldn't stand it anymore. People he knew and didn't know came to chat with him. He really had nothing to talk about, so he took advantage of the fact that no one noticed and escaped through the window. After hiding in a vegetable garden on the outskirts of the city, Luchan found someone waiting for him. Falling Dust. Luchan was surprised. Falling Dust smiled. "Don't worry, it's just me. I'm just here to tell you something." Luchan frowned slightly and listened. "Nameless, the next time we meet, I'm afraid we'll be enemies and not friends. You have to be careful. I won't admit defeat again, and I won't be merciful." Luchan frowned. What is wrong with this guy? He suddenly became so mysterious. Also, how did he know he would run here? The path he chose was completely random, and he had never been here before. Could it be that this guy could predict the future? However, Luchan had to admit that when he saw Falling Dust this time, the feeling he gave him was completely different from the last time. He could feel a sense of oppression. Luchan smiled. "I don't want us to be enemies, but if that day comes, don't worry, I won't be merciful." Falling Dust lowered his head and smiled. In the blink of an eye, he was already far away. After hiding outside for an entire day, it was finally time for Xianjun to fulfill his promise. Xianjun handed the remaining 12,000 points to Luchan. He looked at Luchan with a strange gaze. "Nameless, where are you going next?" Luchan shook his head. "I don't know." Xianjun took a deep breath and suddenly asked, "Do you know about the oracle? Do you believe in their prophecies?" Of course, Luchan knew. He seemed to have killed an oracle before. He didn't know why City Lord Xian would ask such a question. Luchan didn't even think about it. "I don't. You don't believe? The oracle's prophecies are very accurate." Luchan sneered. "I have a friend who told me that the most precious right of a person is to make a choice. My path cannot be decided by others." Xianjun was momentarily dazed. This guy still didn't know that his fate had already been fixed in the living Buddha's prophecy. However, could a person who did not believe in fate go against the heavens and change his fate? Xianjun took a deep breath, looked at the sky, and said with a smile, "I'm really looking forward to this collision." "What collision?" Xianjun shook his head. "It's nothing. Nameless. I wish you a safe journey." "Thank you." Looking at Luchan's departing back, Xianjun let out a long sigh. The world is in chaos. In this chaotic world, the collisions between powerhouses will be wonderful. As for you, your struggle against fate, what will the result be? Between you and him, who can defy the heavens and change fate? I hope I have the chance to live to see the end of all this. Luchan added 5,000 points to his spiritual energy, reaching 30,000 spiritual energy. First, he raised his cultivation level to 5-star wild cultivator. The remaining 7,000 points were converted into 21,000 points of 3D attributes, averaging 3D attributes at 34,000 points. The addition of points was quickly completed. Then, he left the city and headed north. Damn, I'm back in the wilderness again, as expected of a wild cultivator. This time, Luchan learned his lesson and directly drove his super shuttle to hasten his journey. The 5th layer of heaven is a complete planet. A planet only has 7 countries. One can imagine how big a country is. After rushing for a day, Luchan judged that he should be out of the sacred mountain area. At night, as usual, he rested by the stream in the forest to fish. The others prepared dinner or went to look for herbs. While fishing, Luchan opened the map of the 7 countries to check. Synchronize my personal map. Map cannot be recognized. The plates have deviated. Unable to synchronize. Luchan exclaimed. The fish that were almost hooked were scared away by him. This was the first time he encountered such a situation. He actually couldn't synchronize his personal map. The plates have shifted? No. Then what is this map? Luchan said in despair. If the plates have shifted, doesn't that mean this map is useless? He tried again, but the system still gave him the same prompt. In short, his personal map couldn't be synchronized. Damn, old smoke. What era is your sacred mountain heavenly lake? Why is the map so old? Luchan couldn't help but complain. After complaining for a long time, Luchan had no choice but to check the map patiently. He enlarged the map of Danyu country and then the sacred mountain area. The map didn't show the location of Heavenly Lake, but there was the sacred mountain. Comparing the map that he had explored, Luchan judged that the approximate location of the sacred mountain was correct. So, it's not that I can't read the map at all. The movement of the tectonic plates might cause me to be unable to synchronize my personal map, but after the movement of the large tectonic plates, the internal structure might still be intact. When I look at the map, I can only look at part of it. The main coordinates within the same plate should still be usable. In any case, at least it was better than walking with his eyes closed. Well, it's not completely useless. Luchan nodded, slightly comforting. It's understandable that the map doesn't show any forces, but it shouldn't show a city as big as Wu Bangsheng. Could it be that before this map was drawn, Wu Bangsheng didn't exist? Luchan thought of this possibility. Luchan found the approximate location of Wu Bangsheng. There was a basin floor there, which didn't correspond to the current terrain at all. Luchan, who had just raised a glimmer of hope, suddenly said, "Tectonic shift? Damn, I can't look anymore." Just as Luchan was about to give up, he suddenly thought of something. No, I want to find the spiritual source, and the 5 spiritual sources should have existed a long time ago. Then this old map might just be able to help me. Thinking of this, Luchan couldn't help but shudder. He hurriedly checked the location of the sacred mountain. The sacred mountain didn't show the heavenly lake, which meant that the heavenly lake didn't form at that time. The heavenly lake was actually a volcanic lake. When the spirit Qi recovered, the heavenly lake's water almost gushed out. At that time, the sacred mountain was still gushing out spirit Qi, so the heavenly lake didn't form. Luchan's eyes widened. This unsynchronized map was what he needed. Then where's the next spiritual source? Luchan quickly searched on a map. Unfortunately, the map marked the sacred mountain, but it didn't say that the sacred mountain had a spiritual source. This is a little troublesome, Luchan thought. Right? The map shows a city in the north. If this city existed at that time, maybe I can find some clues. While Luchan was studying the map, Luchan also found a strange place. There were some strange red dots on the map. Even though the surrounding area was blurred, the location of the red dots could still be vaguely seen. Even the spiritual source isn't marked. Then the red dots marked here should be something extremely important. Luchan frowned. Could it be a part of the Celestial and Demon set, or the second volume of the 9 transformations of Celestial and Demon? After a long time, Luchan couldn't find any other clues from the map. He carefully put the map away. Fifth heaven, there are too many hidden secrets. Let's take it one step at a time. Let's go to Lower King City first. Chapter 776. Along the way, Luchan passed by many cities. Every time he arrived at a city, he would enter the city to search for cash withdrawal tickets. However, unfortunately, Wu Bangqing's pharmacy owner was right. Luchan found that the closer he got to the central city, the more scarce the cash withdrawal tickets were. There were no cash withdrawal tickets being sold, but there were a lot of cash withdrawal tickets being collected. Along the way, Luchan did not receive any cash withdrawal tickets, only some immortal pill withdrawal tickets. However, after going to many places, Luchan finally found a teleportation array. In a small city more than 10 miles away from Lower King City, Luchan found a teleportation array. It had been 2 or 3 months since he came to the 5th layer of heaven. Lu Chun hurriedly paid 100,000 spirit stones and teleported back to Earth. After the familiar black hole teleportation, Lu Chun opened his eyes again and found himself lying in his game cabin. Opening the cabin door, Lu Chun walked out of the room. Ah, I'm finally back on Earth. Lu Chun took a deep breath and found that the air quality was really different from the other world. But no matter what, he was finally back. He immediately ran to Lu Yi's room and knocked on the cabin door. "Fatty, what are you doing?" Lu Yi quickly responded, "Brother, aren't you going to level up?" Lu Chun frowned slightly. Could it be that Lu Yi did not know that her game cabin was different? "You didn't go to see me? See you? Oh, where are you going to look? You've already teleported your true body." Lu Chin's eyes widened. "How did you know?" "The guide said so." "Guide? They told you in reality?" Lu Chun asked curiously. Now more and more people have entered the fourth layer of heaven. Someone left a note for the United Front Command, telling us that the fifth layer of heaven requires the body to transmigrate. However, they did not inform us specifically because of you. They meant to let the powerhouses on Earth change to the best game cabin. This is because the game helmet can't meet the needs of transmigration. They hope that the United Front Department will popularize gaming cabins as soon as possible. Now, the military enterprises of various countries have already cooperated with Tianxing to produce a large number of gaming cabins. However, the price will be half of the ones we use. This is to prevent our development from being slowed down due to the lack of gaming cabins when we reach level 5. Lu Chun couldn't help but ask in surprise, "How many of you are at the fourth heavenly layer now?" "About 2,000 people." "Yes, this speed is faster than I expected." Lu Chun nodded. With these guides leading the way, the development is indeed much faster than before. It's just that we don't know their identities yet, so we still have to be on our guard. Did they say anything else about the fifth layer of heaven? They didn't say anything else. People came and went, and it felt more lively than Wu Bangsheng. Almost all the people walking on the road were cultivators and above. There were also quite a few grand cultivators. It was close to the big city, King's Lower City, and the people nearby were much stronger than Sacred Mountain. Here, Lu Chun was a 5-star wild cultivator. Other than the word wild, his level was not conspicuous at all. Jinnan City extended in all directions. To the north was King's Lower City, to the south was Sacred Mountain, to the Shilin Waterway, and to the east was another big city, Snow Mountain City. There was even a teleportation array in the city. Because of this, although Jinnan City was not big, it had a large population. Caravans, armies, mercenaries, and various forces could be seen here. Lu Chun planned to stay here for a few days to replenish his supplies. Besides, there were many people here, so it should be a good place to gather information. Of course, there was another reason. After being a wild man for almost a month, he wanted to live the life of a city person. There was an open space near the entrance of the city. This was the place where commission missions gathered. Is there anyone willing to accept the commission mission? There are 5 3-star cultivators and above. Help us escort the goods to Snow Mountain City. The reward is 200,000 spirit stones each, plus 1,000 cash withdrawal coupons. Snow Mountain City? Friend, we have to cross the Snow Mountain. You're just giving us 400,000? Someone questioned. He had already converted the cash withdrawal coupons into spirit stones. Friend, we're just hoping to find some experts to help us. After all, this is a small business. We can't afford to hire escorts. We could take a detour from the Snow Mountain. That's not a problem. If we can take a detour, the price is not bad. Count me in. Lu Chun was willing to accept this mission. If he accepted it alone, the reward of 1 million spirit stones and 10,000 cash withdrawal coupons was not bad. However, his level was too low. Speaking of which, why did many people want to go through the Snow Mountain? Was there something in the Snow Mountain? If there was, he did not mind going there to take a look. At this moment, Lu Chun saw 2 people standing beside him. One was an old man, and the other was a young woman. The old man looked around cautiously. He stood beside the young woman and did not leave her side. The young woman was holding a piece of paper with a commission mission written on it. Escort to Snow Mountain City in 3 days. Set off tomorrow. Reward: 20,000 cash withdrawal coupons. Chapter 777. 20,000 cash withdrawal tickets were equivalent to 4 million spirit stones, and this was something that couldn't be bought with money. Luchin noticed that many people were tempted by this reward. Miss, can you take a detour? If I use my mount, it will take about 4 days to reach Snow Mountain City. The girl didn't say anything and just shook her head. That person could only give up. Sigh, miss, if you want to pass through the Snow Mountain without an earth cultivator, you'll be courting death. It's rare to meet an earth cultivator in Jinan City, and they won't be interested in your reward. The girl didn't answer, but her eyes were a little dim, as if she knew that her chances were slim. Earth cultivator? Could it be that those above great cultivator were earth cultivators? Luchin guessed. At this time, the old man behind the girl said, "We can find more people. The things on the Snow Mountain won't be useful with more people. More people will only increase your chances of successfully escaping, not the chances of defeating it." The old man sighed. "We only have so many people. Whether or not anyone is willing to accept it will depend on luck." Hearing the old man's words, the people who were interested in this mission shook their heads and left. "Sure, it seems that no one will accept this mission." The old man sighed. "It's okay. This old servant swears to protect you with his life. Grand uncle, I don't want anything to happen to you." The girl actually knew how to talk. "We still have 1 day. Let's wait a little longer." At this moment, an ordinary man dressed in the clothes of the working people walked in front of them. The two of them looked at the guy who was scratching his head in surprise. 5-star cultivator was too far away from their requirements. Luchin looked at the mission again and suddenly said, "Can I add a point? Young man, you want to accept this mission?" Grand uncle looked at Lu Chun in surprise. "Do you know that this mission is very dangerous?" Lu Chun pursed his lips. "It should be very dangerous. I saw that those people didn't dare to accept it just now. Since you know you're a 5-star cultivator." A wild cultivator? You're a wild cultivator? Lu Chin's face darkened. "Uncle, what do you mean by wild? I just didn't join a sect. I'm also a normal cultivator, okay? You're still a wild cultivator, even though you're a cultivator. Do all the other sects dislike you?" Lu Chun realized that he couldn't continue this conversation. "I'll say it again. It's not that the other sects don't want me. It's because I didn't join any sects. Damn it. Do unorthodox cultivators have no dignity?" Lu Chun really wanted to tell them how many sects were fighting over him. However, judging from their current attitude towards him, no one would believe him even if he told them. "No, let's talk about business, okay? Don't argue about whether it's wild or not. Can you guys add a little more?" The Grand Elder and the girl looked at each other. This person looked strange. "Young man, Sai, although you are a bit strange, I don't want you to lose your life for some cash extraction scrolls. You can't do this mission. You should leave." "What's on the Snowy Mountain?" Lu Chun suddenly asked. The girl couldn't help but say, "You don't even know who's on the Snowy Mountain, yet you dare to accept this mission?" Sure enough, the ignorant are fearless. Lu Chun smiled slightly. "I'm just curious. I heard you guys talking just now. It seems like no one will accept your price. How about this? I'll accept the mission. If I can deliver it, you can pay me later. If not, of course, I'll be dead by then. You can save your money." "Young man, are you really that stubborn?" Lu Chun smiled slightly. "I can't help it. I'm short of cash extraction scrolls now. 20,000 is fine. It seems like you can't give me more. Sigh, every day, you're making a loss. If you found a suitable candidate, you don't have to look for me. If not, we'll meet here tomorrow." After saying that, Lu Chun turned around and left, leaving the old man and the girl stunned. "Grand Elder, is there something wrong with his brain?" "Seems a little, but if you pay after the mission, we don't seem to have lost anything. With more people on the road, your chances of escaping will be higher. I still don't want to take him. I feel like he's just here to fool around. His level isn't even higher than mine. If we escape, he doesn't do anything and still asks us for money. Wouldn't that be a loss?" The Grand Elder shook his head. He couldn't understand what Luchin meant. Could it be that he really couldn't think it through? As long as you can escape, no amount of money is a loss. Sigh. We'll talk about it later. The next day, Lu Chun arrived early at the square where the commission missions were issued. There were still a large number of commission missions here. Escort, hunting, etc. However, after looking at it, the mission from yesterday had the highest profit. Snowy Mountain. Lu Chun frowned slightly. For 20,000 cash extraction scrolls, I'll delay it for a few days. Besides, there might not be anything I want to know in Lower King City. Not long after he arrived, the old man and the young man also appeared in the square. However, they didn't pay attention to Lu Chun and continued to recruit. Unfortunately, a whole morning had passed. There were many people asking, but still, no one accepted the mission. For some reason, they had to pass through the snowy mountain and refused to take a detour. Near noon, the Grand Elder finally came over. Young man, have you thought about it? Are you sure you want to accept this mission? Let me tell you, if you meet that guy, you have to make enough contributions. If you're just here to fool around, don't blame us for not paying you in the end. Lu Chun smiled slightly. After fishing for so long, his patience had improved. Look, the fish took the bait. Of course. Lu Chun smiled. But now, can you tell me what's on the snowy mountain? One of the 7 magical beast generals, the 8-tailed snow fox. 7 magical beast generals? You, forget it. Who asked you to be a rogue cultivator? It's normal that you don't know such common knowledge. The Grand Elder shook his head and said, the magical beasts in the 5th layer of heaven are quite powerful. Among them, the 7 magical beast generals, the 4 heavenly kings, and the Jizun are the most terrifying existences. The 8-tailed snow fox is only 1 tail away from 9 tails. Once it reaches 9 tails, even an earth cultivator will die. Originally, the 8-tailed snow fox rarely appeared. However, in recent months, it has begun to appear frequently in the snowy mountain area. Therefore, people don't dare to pass through the snowy mountain. But we have to go through the snowy mountain. Lu Chun nodded. Okay, I know. Are you ready? If you are, we will set off. In? You still want to go? Lu Chun smiled. Of course, let's take a gamble. Who knows? Maybe we won't meet it. Then I'll get 20,000 cash withdrawal tickets for free. The Grand Elder almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This guy really had a problem with his brain. It turned out that he was holding on to this kind of wishful thinking. I'm just joking. I have a sense of humor. I used to have an old man as a good friend. He was much more humorous than you. Let's go. I will escort you on this journey. 7 magical beast generals? Lu Chun narrowed his eyes slightly. Very good. Even if he didn't accept this mission, he would still go and see how strong the so-called 7 magical beast generals were. Chapter 778. The old man and the woman didn't have anything to pack, and Lu Chun didn't have anything to prepare either. He had already bought food the day before, so he could leave the city directly. The group went east and left Jinan City. Ahem, young man, you're going the wrong way. It's this way. The old man stopped Lu Chun, who was leading the way. He didn't even know the way, yet he found such a bodyguard. It was really unreliable. Lu Chun could only follow behind the two. Hey, uncle, miss, how should I address you? You can call me grand uncle. You don't have to talk to her. If you have any questions, just ask me, the grand uncle said. So cold. He doesn't even want to talk to me. However, Lu Chun didn't care. The other party didn't ask Lu Chun how to address him. It seemed that they weren't interested in knowing. Grand uncle, why do you have to go through the snow mountain? If you're in a hurry, you can go ahead, Lu Chun asked. Don't you know the rules? Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. We know what we're doing. You just have to protect our safety. The grand uncle's tone was a bit stiff. Lu Chun shook his head. It seemed that they didn't think much of him. They were probably just trying their luck. Anyway, he would pay when he got the goods, so they didn't lose anything. Anyway, it really had nothing to do with him. His purpose was to see if he could meet the 8-tailed snow fox and earn some cash withdrawal tickets. After walking for a few miles, the surrounding air gradually became cold. A layer of frost had already appeared on the surrounding foothills. The temperature changed so quickly. Lu Chen sighed. The old man raised his hand and motioned for Lu Chen to stop. Shui, we're about to enter the snow mountain. Get ready. Okay. The girl and the grand uncle took off their cloaks. It was interesting. Normal people would put on clothes when they were in the snow, but cultivators would take off their clothes. Actually, for cultivators with their physical strength, this low temperature was completely bearable. Taking off their clothes should mean that they were ready to fight at any time. Their badges were exposed as well. The girl was actually a 4-star great cultivator. The grand uncle's badge was even more exaggerated. Lu Chen had never seen it before. 1-star earth cultivator? Lu Chen said in surprise. In contrast, Lu Chen's 5-star wild cultivator was just here to join the fun. Damn, your levels are so high. Grand uncle, what is the rank of 1-star earth cultivators? Lu Chen was in a good mood and asked curiously. You'll know when you get there. Taishu didn't seem to be in the mood to talk about this with Lu Chen. He said snappily, Kid, if you encounter Hachibi and dare to run first, I'll kill you first. Lu Chen blinked his eyes, then smiled and said, Impossible, impossible. I have professional ethics. Don't worry, I will never run first. Grand uncle's the grand uncle is grand's grand uncle. Grand uncle, why don't we let him go now? He's too weak and useless. The grand uncle shook his head and said, Grand uncle, why don't we let him go now? The grand uncle thought for a while and shook his head. You know my injury. Originally, I wanted to recruit a 7-star great cultivator. That way, we still have a chance. But now, if we encounter an 8-tailed beast, I can't win alone. I can only say that one more person means one more chance to escape. If it doesn't work, we can let him be cannon fodder. Grand uncle, although that guy is a bit unlikable, using him as cannon fodder isn't a bit. The grand uncle knew Shui too well. She didn't want that silly boy to follow them because she was soft-hearted. Shui, look at the situation. Your safety is the most important thing now. One person dying is better than hundreds of thousands or millions of people dying. If I'm in my best condition, I naturally won't let this innocent boy die with me. But I'm old. Grand uncle. Shui couldn't bear to look at the grand uncle. If it weren't for him, she would have died countless times. Since she was young, the grand uncle had saved her countless times. He called himself an old servant, but in Shui's heart, even her biological grandfather was inferior to him. How could she bear to see him blame himself? Grand uncle, Shui, will listen to your arrangements. The grand uncle looked back at Lu Chen. The guy was staring at the snow mountain in a daze. He felt that he wasn't smart. The grand uncle sighed. It seemed that he could only be cannon fodder. After discussing, the two returned to Lu Chen's side. Okay, let's go. Lu Chen also didn't know that he had been defined as cannon fodder. His heart was full of expectations for the 7 magical beast generals as he followed the two. After walking for a few more miles, an endless mountain range appeared in front of the 3 of them. At this time, the temperature had already dropped below 0, and the ground was frozen solid. Looking into the distance, there was already snow not far away. Further away, it had already begun to be covered in white snow. This is the snow mountain. Yes, after crossing this mountain, your mission is over. The grand uncle said, entering the snow mountain is the 8 Tails territory. In addition to the 8 Tails, there are many magical beasts here. We can't use mounts to pass through here, so let's hurry. Lu Chen nodded. Okay, let's go. As the 3 of them went deeper into the snow mountain, the snow on the ground became deeper and deeper. In the vast expanse of white snow, only their footsteps were left. The cold wind whistled, and the snowflakes blew on their faces. Lu Chen's beautiful face was covered in a layer of frost. Damn, this road is really difficult. Lu Chen couldn't help but sigh. He didn't know if it was because the 3 of them were lucky, but they didn't encounter any magical beasts until nightfall. After walking for half a day, the 3 of them rested under a solid rock. The grand uncle had brought a lot of dry wood and cleared out a place to set up a fire. The fire finally brought a trace of warmth. The girl and the grand uncle sat together, eating the dry food they had brought. Lu Chen was focused on roasting fish over the fire. Lu Chen's cooking and fishing skills had risen quite high. Now, his cooking skills were not inferior to chasing clouds. "Hey, want some roasted fish?" Lu Chen called out. "No." The grand uncle refused. Lu Chen shook his head. The two of them were especially vigilant. He didn't know their identities. After dinner, Lu Chen said to the two, "Then you two rest. I'll be on night duty." This time, the two of them didn't say anything. The grand uncle closed his eyes to rest. The girl should have really fallen asleep. Lu Chen stood on the rock above, looking at the sea of snow in the night. Eight tails, when will you appear?" Lu Chen shook his head. At this moment, in the surrounding snow, several pairs of dark green night pearls flashed. They were approaching them step by step. Lu Chen slightly narrowed his eyes. Those were obviously not night pearls. They were emitting a powerful aura. Lu Chen stood up and slightly narrowed his eyes. Legendary magical beasts? Or should it be called dragon seed? In short, after coming to the 5th layer of heaven for so long, except for the little golden carp, this should be the first time he encountered one. Then let's meet them. Night flash shadow. In the blink of an eye, Lu Chen had disappeared. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.